Chapter 1106. Leave. Ding Meng's pupils began to contract. Ming Yen nodded and said, "Yes, a monarch's word is not a joke. My promise is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. If I say I will let you go, then I will let you go. I will not make things difficult for you." Ding Meng's expression was blank. "Leave? Where can I go?" Ming Yen said seriously, "Exactly. Even though this universe is vast and ethereal, there's no place for you, Ding Meng, to stay in this world. After I become an overlord, capturing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Where can you go?" Ding Meng's entire body relaxed, as if he had exhausted all his strength and collapsed to the ground. A cruel smile flashed across Ming Yan's eyes. "You have nowhere to go and nowhere to go. The best place for you is to stay by my side and become my husband. The two chosen ones will work together and become one. This is the will of the heavens. This is a match made in heaven. In all fairness, do you think I am right?" This time, Ding Meng was silent for a long time before he slowly nodded. "Yes, you are right." Ming Yen smiled. This time, it was a true smile, a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. This was because she knew that this extremely talented and tenacious chosen one had finally submitted to her. "Then why aren't you coming over?" Ming Yen gently waved her hand. Ding Meng thought for a moment. Then, with great difficulty, he got up and slowly walked towards her. Although Ding Meng's body was a little stiff, and it was obvious that he was still a little unwilling, the expression on his face showed that he had accepted his fate. When faced with such a terrifying opponent like Ming Yen, there was no way he could win. Perhaps this was not the right way to describe it. It should be said that when faced with such an opponent, the only thing he had to do was accept his fate. This was the so-called acceptance of fate. Ming Yan's hand was still outstretched like a key. Ding Meng walked closer and slowly reached out his hand. Finally, he grasped the hand that every man in the universe wanted to hold the most. Then, he squeezed and held it firmly. Any man who held this hand would not want to let go. Therefore, Ming Yen instantly checked the condition of Ding Meng's body through Ding Meng's hand. Indeed, Ding Meng did not have the ability to fight. Ming Yen smiled sweetly. "Husband, please do not worry. After we obtain the sacred butterfly, I will not treat you badly." Ding Meng's expression was numb. He was so numb that he could only nod. Ming Yen said, "Whatever you want, I can give it to you." Ding Meng sighed deeply. "If you want me to follow you, you have to give me something in return, right? I've never believed in empty promises." Ming Yen blinked and smiled. "Tell me, what benefits do you want? As long as I have it, I can give it to you." Ding Meng's breathing suddenly became heavier. He stared straight at Ming Yan's chest. Even though she was wearing a thick and wide Taoist robe, it still couldn't hide her towering and plump inside. "Since you're willing to take me as your husband, you're just saying it. There's nothing practical about it." Ming Yen giggled. "I thought you were some kind of saint. It turns out that you are just like other men. You have your own thoughts." Ding Meng was expressionless. "I am also a man. I also have 7 emotions and 6 desires. What's more, when faced with a woman like you, I have already reached my limit. Besides, I am your husband. It is natural for me to want you. What's wrong with that?" Ming Yen finally raised her head and laughed. The seductive posture of a night phoenix warrior was exposed. "Ha ha ha, no problem. After we obtain the sacred butterfly, you can enjoy me anytime, anywhere." "No." Ding Meng decisively refused. "If you really obtain the sacred butterfly, you may abandon me at any time. I don't want to repeat Demon Lord Xieyu's mistake." Ming Yan's smile faded. She also knew that Ding Meng was the kind of person who would not act until he saw a rabbit. "Fine, I will satisfy you. When do you want it?" Ding Meng's eyes burned like a wolf seeing meat. "I want it now, right here. As long as I enjoy you, you won't lose out even if you kill me." Ming Yen gently waved her hand. The curtain of flower rain appeared again, tightly sealing off the light step. She was obviously worried that the people below would see. Ding Meng suddenly smiled. So you can be shy too? Ming Yen was worthy of being called the Queen of Charms of a Night Phoenix warrior. She blushed shyly. This is the highest level of private enjoyment. Naturally, I can't share it with an outsider. Ding Meng did not waste any more words. He suddenly reached out and pulled Ming Yen into his embrace. His other hand was not honest. It wandered all over Ming Yan's body. Ming Yen raised her head and moaned. Her moans of ecstasy did not last for long. She suddenly said, "Since I want you to follow me completely, then I should also let you have me completely. Only then will it be fair." As she said this, she transmitted a divine sense to Ding Meng. The two quickly established a telepathic connection. With Ding Meng's current weak state, he could not resist at all. Ming Yen smiled and raised her head. A pair of alluring red lips slowly moved towards Ding Meng. Although she was smiling, her eyes were full of viciousness. However, Ding Meng did not care. He bit down on her lips. At this moment, a large amount of divine sense information flooded into Ding Meng's mind. He had already seen Queen Ming Yan's past. The Night Phoenix was originally an extremely lowly and poor family in the Six Weave. The family was full of women. They were forced to sell their bodies to make a living. This family cultivated the yin-yang harmony balance of heaven and earth, resulting in generations of women. These women were born beautiful and were especially skilled in the art of seduction. They charmed men until they were drunk. They relied on the primitive capital of women to develop rapidly. Ming Yen was a disciple of the 184th generation of the Night Phoenix family. In fact, she was not very valued. However, she was scheming and good at socializing. She used one powerful man after another as a springboard to climb up the ranks step by step. In this aspect, she was very similar to Sovereign King Ling Tian. They were both at the bottom of the lowly grassroots. They both wanted to climb up the ranks. In the end, after absorbing the strength of thousands of martial artists, Ming Yen stepped into the ranks of interstellar martial artists. Her growth was not achieved through punches and kicks like Sovereign King Ling Tian. Instead, she relied on sucking the energy of male martial artists for her own use. Back in the Six Weaves, this was an extremely taboo martial art technique. It was not allowed to exist. However, by the time many people realized that something was wrong, Ming Yen had already grown into a powerhouse. The Night Phoenix family had already risen to become a top family. At that time, no matter who wanted to make a move against a large family, they would have to consider the benefits and connections behind the family. Then, Ming Yen used the conflict between the True Demon Nation and the Hark tribe to benefit from it. She declared herself the queen and recruited all the beauties in the world. Thus, the Night Phoenix Empire was established. After that, the Night Phoenix Empire grew at a rocket speed. Queen Ming Yen conquered one pursuer after another. At this stage, all of her pursuers were experts, and all of them were people with outstanding talent. The Night Luan Empire was truly powerful to the extreme. However, there was still a tall mountain in front of the Night Phoenix Empire. That was planet AIG. The unrivaled Sovereign King Ling Tian led his planet AIG. He was unrivaled in the galaxy and was unrivaled under the heavens. It was at this time that Ming Yan's ambition sprouted. She wanted to conquer Sovereign King Ling Tian. Why? The reason was very simple. Sovereign King Ling Tian was too strong. He was so strong that people could only look up to him and bow down to him. With Ming Yan's strength, if she wanted to devour the Sovereign King's energy, she would only suffer a backlash. The only way was to absorb it bit by bit. Then, the best way was to continue to maintain her cold demeanor and continue to attract the Sovereign King's attention. She had seen countless people. It could be said that a pair of jade-like arms could be pillowed on by thousands of people. Her vermilion lips could be tasted by tens of thousands of people. She had a thorough understanding of men. There was no need to elaborate on what happened in the 6 territories. Ming Yen and the Sovereign King became husband and wife. In the end, the sovereign king still fell into her plot. A powerhouse of a generation could only flee with his tail between his legs until he perished. After taking down the sovereign king Ling Tian, Ming Yan only had one thing left to do. And that was the sacred palace. Seeing this, Ding Meng broke out in cold sweat. Because in his opinion, Queen Ming Yan might not be as strong as the sovereign king Ling Tian in terms of martial prowess, but her wisdom, schemes, methods, understanding of human nature, and grasp of psychology far surpassed the sovereign king Ling Tian. It was no wonder that the sovereign king lost to her. Ding Meng even saw in her telepathic thoughts that even in the imperial palace of the Night Phoenix Empire, those so-called powerful experts and young geniuses were locked up. They were all yellow and skinny, naked, and locked up by all kinds of magic treasures. Every day they were thrown some precious resources. Then, they worked hard to cultivate, and when they finally made a slight improvement or leap forward, they would immediately be sucked clean by Ming Yan. Yet, they just had to sink into the sea of desire, unable to live or die. They were completely slaves for generations to come. They were simply worse than pigs and dogs. Seeing this hellish scene, Ding Meng's emotions were obviously frightened. At this moment, Ming Yan's voice became incomparably cold. "Are you scared?" The two of them were still hugging and kissing. This feeling was both ecstatic and terrifying. However, Ding Meng still answered honestly, "Yes." Ming Yan laughed. Her laughter made one's hair stand on end. "Actually, you don't understand. Sometimes being a dog is much more interesting than being a human. At least being a dog is not tiring. However, being a human has too many burdens. It's very tiring." Ding Meng felt a sharp pain in his head. He felt as if his whole body was being sucked into Ming Yan's mouth. Ming Yan laughed. "Enjoy my physical body. This is a rare opportunity. Now, only a powerhouse like you has the right to enjoy me. Of course, if you want to enjoy me, I have to take you." Ding Meng immediately understood. Ming Yan's real purpose was not to make him her husband, but to devour his spiritual body. When the two chosen ones truly merged into one, she would be the real master. Nothing could stop her anymore. Behind the curtain, the romantic rain of flowers was still sprinkling down. Those who didn't know what was going on might think that this was a pair of celestial lovers enjoying their sweet time together. But when they got closer, they would discover that Ding Meng's body, which had been tempered countless times, was slowly shrinking, withering, and fading away. If Ding Meng was the incarnation of the Grim Reaper, then Ming Yan's intimacy was the kiss of death. Even the Grim Reaper would be destroyed. Armor melted. Origin extinguished. Mirror shattered. Tendons melted. Blood essence sucked dry. Body degenerated. This time, Ding Meng was truly dead. On the other hand, Ming Yan's skin was getting smoother and smoother, her face was getting redder and redder, and her face was becoming more and more radiant. Obviously, all of this was caused by her possessing Ding Meng's spiritual body. If there was anything left, it would be Ding Meng's memories. Those precious memories were also the biggest motivation that supported him to this point. But now everything was about to be destroyed. Chapter 1107. On the Holy Staircase, Ding Meng's body grew dimmer and dimmer, like a mirror image disappearing. The lower half of his body was gone, and the degeneration had spread to his chest. Gradually, half of his body disappeared, leaving only his head. Then, his head became translucent. At the last moment before Ding Meng completely disappeared, the divine light necklace hanging around his neck fell to the ground with a ding, falling onto the platform of light. This was Ji Qinshua's relic. She left it with him as a gift and also as a form of protection. Woo! The necklace made a strange Sanskrit sound, as if it had received a command and was activated. Then, the pearl glowed with a strong golden light. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. The void and the holy staircase were completely covered by the strong light of the explosion. No one could open their eyes in this kind of light. The miracle had finally appeared. The necklace made a buzzing sound, and the energy inside it surged out. It was Ding Meng's shadow. The white figure of light stood up again, resolutely, and raised its head. Its energy was so strong that Queen Mingyan's expression changed. She retreated as expected. However, the shadow did not give her the chance. It stepped on the spot and leaped forward, like a fish leaping through the dragon's gate, and slashed with its blade. This was the same scene from before. The shadow turned into the shape of a hero's knife and mercilessly slashed at Mingyan's forehead. This slash was unstoppable, and no one could stop it. This was the ultimate killing move hidden at the end. Mingyan probably sensed that this ball of energy was too strong. It was too late for her to dodge. Her hands formed a heart shape in front of her forehead, and then she suddenly parted them to the side. A crimson bud-shaped shield immediately wrapped around her body. Unexpectedly, the light form of the shadow miraculously penetrated the shield, and then directly sank into her forehead. Its entire body drilled into her body. Mingyan's expression changed. She also became indescribably frightened. She could not help but shout, "What is this?" No one answered her, because as soon as she finished speaking, her entire body exploded with a boom. This explosion caused countless peach blossom essences to fly all over the place, drowning the entire saint's staircase. The martial artists, demons, and demons below all turned into nothingness while howling in grief. This power was so strong that it could be compared to the Big Bang of the universe. The saint's staircase was completely engulfed in a pink interstellar storm. No one knew how long it took for the dust to settle down. On the 90th step, two translucent figures, one white and one black, were floating in the air. They were Ding Meng's spirit body and Mingyan's spirit body. Both of them had disheveled hair and looked battered and exhausted, but Ding Meng was surprisingly calm, while Mingyan was furious. "What did you do to me? You actually destroyed my physical body." At this moment, Ding Meng was no longer submissive. He stared coldly at Mingyan and snapped, "Do you really think I'll submit to you? Dream on." "Never." His roar gave Mingyan a fright. Mingyan looked at him in disbelief. "You? How did you do it?" Ding Meng sneered. "You calculated well. With my strength as an interstellar martial master at that time, it was impossible for me to absorb all the energy of the true essence divine crystal. I just integrated most of its remaining energy into the divine light necklace. That was my real trump card." Mingyan was extremely shocked. Then, she suddenly understood. She immediately figured out the key to this. Ding Meng had obtained the true essence divine crystal of the Black Dragon King. As a martial master, he could only forcibly absorb the energy of the true essence divine crystal. If he absorbed it as a martial master, he would probably be on the same level as Mingyan. However, that would still be a situation where both sides would suffer. Of course, the latter situation was impossible because it was just a hypothesis. The truth was that Ding Meng had cultivated the diamond star-fusing art. He had integrated the remaining energy of the divine crystal into the divine light necklace. The capacity of the divine light necklace was determined by the strength of the user. Only when Ding Meng became a martial master would he be able to bring all the energy to the divine staircase. Only then would he have the ability to deal with Mingyan. This was also the fundamental reason why Ji Qinxue was willing to sacrifice himself. At certain special moments when the rationality of values prevails, humans will risk their lives and do their best for someone, something, or a goal. They will even sacrifice themselves. This trait can sometimes cause irreversible disasters, but it can also create indescribable miracles. In order to create a better future, Ji Qinxue's rationality of values prevailed, and he sacrificed himself. And now, a miracle had really been born. Even Queen Mingyan, who was so strong that she could break through the sky, was defeated. This was why human martial artists could always amaze everyone. However, Mingyan still seemed to be unwilling to believe it. She said in a trembling voice, You knew that you would die together with me. How dare you choose to do this? I know. Ding Meng regained his calm and said casually, I knew from the beginning that no one could defeat you. I had no chance of winning. Ming Yen was still in shock. She was waiting for Ding Meng to explain. Because I know my limits. I know very well what I'm capable of. Even the heaven-defying sovereign king was defeated by you. What am I? If I challenge you, I'm just courting death. Ding Meng said unhurriedly, You were right. I've been acting all this time. Even when I surrendered to you in the end, I was also acting. If I hadn't acted so realistically, you wouldn't have been fooled. For me, my only chance was to get close to you and have physical contact with you. Only then could I activate the divine light necklace and kill you. Ming Yan's face darkened. So, you didn't surrender just because you were lustful? Ding Meng shook his head and said, No, you're wrong. I'm lustful, but you're even more lustful than me. Because I know you're like those generals. Once you defeat me, you won't let me go. You'll make me your slave. This is the instinct of Night Phoenix martial artists. I can't be wrong about this. So, I could only pretend to surrender and ask to have physical contact with you. Only then did I have this chance. You. Ming Yen was furious. She had never expected Ding Meng to be so treacherous. In terms of acting, he was indeed her ancestor, but in terms of acting skills, he was her grandson. Ding Meng continued, The power of the divine crystal hidden in the necklace is the true power that can deal with you. The other divine light essences, the power of the demons, and AIG's star energy are all useless against you. So, when I came here, I set it up. As long as I die, the necklace will automatically activate. It will explode and deal the final blow to the strongest person nearby. Ming Yen was still in disbelief. She was shocked again. You knew the final result, no matter what? You were going to die anyway, so why did you still enter the saint's staircase? Ding Meng said, Yes, I knew that from the moment I came in, I was already dead. Ming Yen was shocked. Aren't you afraid of death? Ding Meng revealed a rare expression of emotion. He shook his head and said, You're wrong again. I'm afraid of death. I'm scared to death. But I still came. Ming Yen was really curious. Why? Ding Meng sighed and said, Although I've lived a very tiring life, I've lived it openly. Even if I'm going to die, I want to die with a clear conscience. Only in this way can I be worthy of those who have sacrificed so much for me. Their friendship, love, and family, I've never let them down. Only in this way can my death be considered worthy. Ming Yen seemed to have calmed down. She sighed softly. I've always thought that there was no one in this world who wasn't afraid of death. It seems that I was wrong. Until today, I finally believe that there really are people who aren't afraid of death. Ding Meng revealed a proud expression. So, you've lost this battle. Ming Yen suddenly laughed disdainfully. Who said I've lost? The one who lost is not me, but you. Ding Meng said in surprise, Oh? Ming Yen smiled and said, You're really smart. Your strength is outstanding and your courage is commendable. Although you used the true essence divine crystal to destroy my physical body, you still can't destroy my spiritual body. This saint's staircase has its own thin divine crystal energy. I can rely on this energy to refine the heavenly strategy body sooner or later. Ding Meng said, With your absorption rate, even if you can refine the immortal aperture, origin spirit, and heavenly strategy body, it will take at least hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, or even tens of millions of years. Ming Yen smiled happily. So what? My foundation is much deeper than yours. My absorption rate is much faster than yours. My spiritual body will always be one step faster than yours, or even several steps faster. When the time comes, destroying a small divine light martial artist like you will be a piece of cake. No matter how you calculate, you'll never know that the sacred butterfly will still be mine. Ding Meng looked at her with a cold gaze. He shook his head helplessly. You're wrong. The one who lost is still you. Ming Yen was stunned. Why? Ding Meng asked meaningfully. Do you know? You, Ling Tian Sovereign King, Demon King Xie, your generals, those demon generals, you so-called experts, why can you live for so long? It's because you're afraid of death. That's why you keep cultivating and becoming stronger. You even want to pursue eternal life. In a word, you're afraid of death. Ding Meng said firmly. Ming Yen didn't answer because she knew that Ding Meng's words were very reasonable. The purpose of becoming stronger was to not be stepped on by others. It was to protect one's life. Ding Meng sighed. The reason you're afraid of death is because you haven't truly lived. Ming Yen found it funny. I haven't truly lived? Do you know my birthday this year? I know. Ding Meng nodded. I've already seen it in your divine sense. You've lived for more than 2 million years. You're an out-and-out old monster of the universe. But I still have to say that you haven't truly lived. Ming Yan's expression was a bit ferocious. She was obviously not convinced. Haha, could it be that you've truly lived? Chapter 1108. Ding Meng did not directly answer her rhetorical question. Instead, he slowly explained, in your long life, I saw the same experience as Lord Lingtian. You were treated like dirt, abandoned, and betrayed since birth. You never really trusted others. Sometimes you don't even trust yourselves. You only know how to scheme and deceive each other. You only care about benefits and gaining power. You don't know what benevolence, justice, etiquette, and wisdom are, Ming Yen sneered disdainfully. Those are only used to deceive stupid weaklings like you. The strong never believe in etiquette. Only power is the eternal pursuit. Ding Meng shook his head and said, So you are actually a bunch of fake strong people who don't have any faith at all. You don't understand the value of friendship, the weight of affection, and the blood connection of family. In the end, your heart is empty, just like the walking dead. Take you for example. You can only sink into the sea of desire for eternity. How can you have any fun? You don't have to refute. Your telepathic thoughts won't betray you. Ming Yen gritted her teeth and said, What about you? Ding Meng said, I'm different from you. Compared to you, I'm much luckier. My life can't be considered exciting. Although those promises and concerns tied me down, they were also my greatest motivation. They constantly encouraged me and allowed me to experience the joys and curses of this world, love and hatred. They made my life exciting and gave me faith and memories. What about you? Even if you destroy me in the end, what are you left with? In the tens of millions of years that you have recovered, do you feel disgusted when you think of those men? Do you grit your teeth when you think of those enemies? None of the things you have left can make you happy. Ming Yan's face was ferocious. Obviously, Ding Meng had hit the nail on the head. Ding Meng said seriously, But I'm different. Even if my spiritual body is destroyed, my memories are still there. I'll always be better than you. Ming Yen suddenly laughed. No matter what you say, you just don't want to admit that you've lost. You're still stubborn. Ding Meng ignored her. Instead, he stood with his head held high and looked into the distance. He seemed to be reminiscing about the past or gazing into space and time. His tone was both emotional and firm. That's not the same. Even if I die, my memories remain, my spirit remains, and my faith remains. The spirit of the hero's dagger will continue to be passed down from generation to generation. Even if one Ding Meng falls, there will still be thousands of Ding Meng standing up. They will continue to advance and face death with equanimity, not for anything else but for those who have sacrificed for them, for those who can't fight. Furthermore, in this endless universe, no one can guarantee that there won't be any accidents during our recovery. Perhaps in the next reincarnation, I'll be standing here again, stopping you from ascending. No matter what, you still haven't obtained the Saint Butterfly, haven't you? Ming Yen sneered. But you're going to die in my hands. It's just a matter of time. Ding Meng turned around and said seriously, It doesn't matter. I've already walked the path I should have walked, completed the mission I should have completed, and done everything I could. That's enough. Everything that happens next will be arranged by God. I believe in God's will. I believe that tomorrow will be a sunny day. I believe that the light of righteousness will never be extinguished. You see, without the light of Liang, this vast universe will become an eternity of darkness. As a universe master, can't you understand such a simple principle? Don't you know that? His words were powerful and righteous. Ming Yen couldn't help but be moved. The so-called strongest king should be like this. The great path was the same as the beginning, and the great path was solitary. He would never waver. Even if he was in a desperate situation, he would never forget his original intention. Ming Yen was about to argue when suddenly, the two of them felt another fluctuation above their heads. This fluctuation was actually coming from the top of the holy staircase. This mighty force was even more shocking and unprecedented. The two of them turned their heads in unison. Only then did they realize that the bright spot at the top of the holy staircase was emitting a sacred golden light. This golden light illuminated the entire void. The holy staircase seemed to possess magic. In an instant, it stretched and extended into a flat surface suspended in the void. The power of the golden light was even more unparalleled. Ding Meng and Ming Yan's bodies were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even many severely injured warriors and demons below the void were recovering. General Hong Yu, on the other hand, was unsealed. Everyone stared at the top of the holy staircase, dumbfounded. The golden light spot broke out of its cocoon and became a butterfly. The golden butterfly flapped its wings slightly and flew up not long after. Could it be that the legendary holy butterfly had awakened? Or had it been activated? Such a powerful force simply made people involuntarily feel awe in their hearts. However, at this moment, Ming Yen burst into unbridled laughter. Ha 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 ha, Ding Meng, you didn't even dream of it, did you? You went to great lengths to destroy my body, but I recovered in an instant. It seems that the will of the heavens is that the chosen one is the chosen one. I am the ruler. Ding Meng did not answer her. While he was shocked, he was also attracted by the scene in front of him. The holy butterfly's light alone could restore the bodies of top masters like them. As for the power of the holy butterfly itself, it was beyond his imagination. He could not imagine how vast and mighty it was. The holy butterfly flapped its wings in the air, as if it was dancing happily. However, it seemed to be alarmed by Ming Yan's crazy laughter. It circled around in a big circle, and then with a whoosh, it leaped tens of millions of light-years into the void and appeared directly above the light staircase of the 90th level. At this moment, Ding Meng seemed to be frozen in place. Ming Yen could no longer laugh. Both of them had solemn expressions on their faces. This was because they both felt the most sacred and mighty power in the universe. Their hearts almost stopped beating, and they could not even speak. They were completely shocked, and their hearts were filled with reverence. Although the holy butterfly was still, it seemed to have a unique life of its own. Ding Meng and Ming Yen immediately sensed that the holy butterfly was secretly observing them. The mark of heavens chosen on Ding Meng and Ming Yan's foreheads began to glow. It also flapped its wings vividly. The mark had clearly sensed the existence of the holy butterfly. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. The holy butterfly fluttered again, and in an instant, it disappeared into the mark on Ming Yan's forehead. Ming Yen was stunned at first, and then a look of ecstasy appeared on her face. Her entire body instantly turned into a pink humanoid light. Her aura did not just increase exponentially. Instead, it increased by leaps and bounds. Ding Meng also recovered his physical body. However, in the silent entropy vision, Queen Ming Yan's combat power could not be displayed. There was only a bright red plus infinity indicator. This meant that her combat power was infinite. It could be understood as endless, or it could be understood as exceeding the silent entropy vision's evaluation. Ah ha 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 ha! Ming Yen raised her head and let out a crazy cry. Ding Meng, oh Ding Meng, you were right. Everything is arranged by the heavens. The real chosen one is me. The real person who can merge with the holy butterfly is also me. This holy butterfly's power is actually so perfect. I solemnly announce that from today onwards, the ruler of this universe will be Queen Ming Yen of the Night Phoenix Empire. Ding Meng sneered disdainfully. At the same time, he poured a bucket of cold water on her to wake her up. It's too early for you to celebrate. Huh! Ming Yen froze. What do you mean? Ding Meng said coldly. You'll know what I mean very soon. Suddenly, Ming Yen returned from her pink humanoid light form to her true body. Her aura also instantly fell back to its previous level. Ming Yan's expression changed greatly. What's going on? Ding Meng sneered. Do you think you've merged with it? However, you haven't. It's just inspecting you. In your words, it's just letting you experience the taste of joy. Ming Yen was exasperated. Can the sacred butterfly merge with you? Ding Meng didn't answer this time. He had a hunch that the sacred butterfly was coming for him. When the sacred butterfly flew down, he felt a familiar aura. Yes, it was the aura of the sacred spirit of the Dexing kingdom. It was also the familiar aura of his homeland. It made Ding Meng feel as if he had returned to those difficult and bumpy days. The struggles in the world of ice and snow, the fragrance of the star-weave grass mixed with the fragrance of leaves, the unforgettable stories of the past, and the cute and familiar smiling faces. With another swoosh sound, the holy butterfly suddenly flew out from Ming Yan's forehead, and the mark on her forehead immediately disappeared. Ming Yan was stunned. She had just grasped the power of the sacred butterfly for less than half a minute, and then she lost it completely. The sacred butterfly was still flying in the air, but now everyone could see that it was circling around Ding Meng, and its speed was getting slower and slower. Just like before, the sacred butterfly disappeared into the mark on Ding Meng's forehead. Finally, the entire holy temple changed. It was like a picture slowly unfolding. At this moment, not only was Ming Yen shocked, even Ding Meng was shocked. The holy temple had turned into a space. This was the command center of the solitary entropy, the hive. It was exactly the same. Even the center of the empty hall had that noble, elegant, and majestic golden throne placed there. At this moment, Ding Meng and Ming Yen realized at the same time. The High Heaven King had once merged with the sacred butterfly, so he naturally came to the holy temple. Later, the sacred butterfly left him, so he created the solitary entropy according to the holy temple's appearance. His purpose was to return to the holy temple. To a certain extent, the solitary entropy was the holy temple, and the holy temple was the solitary entropy. The difference was the amount of energy. As for the hive on the wall, it had finally turned into countless liquid space-time eyes. Each of the eyes was flowing, and they were all the stories Ding Meng had experienced in the past. Every person and every event happened in real time like a movie. This was the ultimate meaning of the hive, reincarnating time and space, changing history. Like Ming Yen, Ding Meng's aura was also rising crazily, but Ding Meng's body did not change in appearance. However, Ming Yen was still unwilling to accept this. She refused to believe that the sacred butterfly would choose Ding Meng in the end. Chapter 1109. Ming Yen was waiting, of course. She was waiting for the holy butterfly to fly out of Ding Meng's forehead. But she was quickly disappointed. Ding Meng slowly opened his right hand, and a singularity appeared in his palm. The singularity expanded into an eye of light, and then the eye of light became a rainbow of chaos. If you looked closely at the chaos, you would see that it was made up of countless images that were moving. Through it, Ming Yen could see not only Ding Meng's memories, but also her own past. Aside from her memories, she could see every galaxy, every star system, every place and every corner of the universe. Even the smallest insects, birds, flowers, and leaves could be seen clearly. From another perspective, the chaos power extended to the end of the world. She could even see the fourth and fifth dimensions of time and space. The laws of the universe could be seen with the naked eye. Ming Yen looked up in shock. Across from her, Ding Meng's expression was indifferent, but her aura was endless. Her face turned ashen. If this wasn't the fusion of the Saint Butterfly, then what kind of strength was it? Ding Meng clenched his fist again, and the chaos in his palm immediately disappeared. The honeycomb image on the wall also disappeared. The mark on his forehead rapidly expanded, enveloping him within. Finally, it turned into a transparent layer, completely fusing with him. His entire person seemed to have an invisible glow, majestic, supreme, sacred, and inviolable. Under Ming Yan's horrified gaze, Ding Meng did not do anything to her. He bent down and picked up the dimmed necklace on the ground. He held it tightly in his hand. Then, he walked to the throne in the center. He slowly sat down on the throne. He looked up into the distance. It was as if he was looking at a distant time and space. His eyes were cold, deep, and shining. It was as if he could see through everything in the world. Thump! Ming Yen knelt down. Her knees touched the ground. She knelt down willingly. There was no dissatisfaction or unwillingness on her face. She had completely surrendered. The person sitting on the throne looking into the distance was the new master of this temple. He was the creator of this universe, the god of creation. A top-tier king like her was like an ant in front of the god of creation. The moment the holy butterfly merged with Ding Meng, it meant the birth of the strongest king. Ding Meng did not attack her because she was no longer worth his time. To Ding Meng, she was no longer a threat. So, she could only kneel down and submit, or even worship him. Behind her, those Night Luan martial artists, Devil Sky, and demons had all been vaporized by the Supreme King's aura. The only one who could barely hold on was General Hongyu. Hongyu also knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Ding Meng with the highest etiquette. Ding Meng raised her hand slightly towards the two of them and gestured for them to rise. The two stood up in fear and trepidation. "Thank you, my lord." Ding Meng looked at Ming Yen. His eyes were as deep as the ocean. Ming Yen was moved like a young girl. This was the look of a god. This was the gaze of a god. If she could serve by Ding Meng's side, then she would be a member of the temple. If Ding Meng liked her, then she would be the mistress of the temple. She was suddenly overjoyed. In this world, was there any woman more outstanding than her? However, Ding Meng's eyes did not contain any emotion. "Do you know why?" Ming Yen was confused. "Why what?" Ding Meng said, "I will give you a choice now. Are you willing to go to the future, or would you rather go back to the past?" His voice wasn't loud and his attitude was calm. He didn't even use his aura, but Ming Yen felt an unprecedented sense of nervousness. She had a premonition that this question would determine her life or death. As long as she didn't go according to Ding Meng's wishes, she would be reduced to ashes. Ming Yen knelt down again. "My lord, please enlighten me." Ding Meng said, "I told you before. You have never truly lived." Ming Yen immediately understood. She cupped her hands and said, "I understand. I am willing to go back to the past and live again. My lord, please give me a chance to be reborn." Ding Meng nodded and said, "I will check your sincerity. I will now fulfill your long-cherished wish." He pointed his finger lightly, and a white light surrounded Ming Yan's body. She was shocked at first because all the Night Phoenix warrior energy in her body had magically evaporated. What replaced it was the divine light essence source. Moreover, the origin had also been replaced. It was the origin of the Diamond Star technique. Ming Yen was overjoyed again. Her aura had broken through the realm of a top-notch master in the universe and reached the divine realm. Was this not the level of martial arts that she had been striving for all this time? However, when she raised her head again, her face was full of reverence. Ding Meng only had to stretch out his hand to bestow her with such great power. However, she could not see through Ding Meng's true body at all. In other words, God could give you power and take it back. In front of God, you could not be disloyal. You had to remain loyal and reverent. Ming Yen knelt down and kowtowed. What do you need me to do? My lord, please enlighten me. Ding Meng said calmly, I want you to return to the past and maintain the stability of the 6 territories. I will check on you. If you do not satisfy me, I will choose a new agent. Ming Yen said, I understand. I will do my best. Go. Ding Meng waved his hand casually. Ming Yen and Hong Yu immediately turned into 2 white spirals and were teleported away. At this point, Ding Meng was the only one left in the Divine Palace. Ding Meng's expression became bleak. He sat quietly on the throne and pondered for a long time. Then, he opened his palm. The golden saint butterfly floated out of his palm and danced happily in the hall. When he merged with the saint butterfly, his brain had inherited the memories of its previous host. At the same time, he had also established a special telepathic connection with the saint butterfly. Only he could communicate with the saint butterfly's will alone. You don't look happy, the saint butterfly said. Ding Meng said, Do you know? This place is the Supreme Divine Palace. It is the origin of the creation of the world. However, this place is more like a tomb. The saint butterfly laughed. You are the first person to think that this place is like a tomb. The previous masters of the Divine Palace were so happy that they did not rest for a long time. Ding Meng said, That is because I am different from them. The saint butterfly flew around again and floated in front of him. I know that you are different from the previous masters. You are missing your friends. Ding Meng smiled bitterly. After I entered the Divine Palace, perhaps tens of thousands of years have passed in the outside world? The saint butterfly said, 37 million years have passed. Everyone you know in your life is no longer here. Ding Meng lowered his head. His expression was even more desolate. The saint butterfly said, You are now a god of creation. You have great power. It is not impossible for you to see them. Ding Meng looked up. You have a way, right? The saint butterfly said, You can restart the universe, turn back time, and change the past. Ding Meng said, Oh? The saint butterfly said solemnly, But it is not without a price. Ding Meng said, What price? The saint butterfly said, You are the master of the Divine Palace. This result does not follow the law of reincarnation. It is also unchangeable. Therefore, after turning back time, the past will be changed. However, you are still the master of the Divine Palace. You can travel through time and space. You can also see your family and friends. Ding Meng frowned. Is there a problem? The saint butterfly said, There is a problem. You will always remember them, but their memories no longer include you. Simply put, you exist in their previous life and not in their current life. Ding Meng said, In other words, when I go to see them, I will already be a stranger. The saint butterfly said, That is what it means. For you, the price is very high. In the reincarnation of the past and present life, other than Ming Yen Hong Yu who knows your past and identity, no one else knows who you are. If you want to get to know them again, anything can happen. You may be enemies or friends. Everything is possible. You have to consider carefully. Ding Meng fell into deep thought again. What if I go to the future? The saint butterfly said, According to the current flow of time and space, the 6 territories have regained their peace. The Federal Empire has welcomed peace. The Great Wei dynasty still exists, but your friends are long gone. You have to manage the existing laws of the universe well until the next reincarnation. I will inform you of the new chosen one. Then you can retire. Ding Meng looked up decisively. Then I will restart the universe and return to the past. The saint butterfly said, Are you sure? Ding Meng nodded firmly. I am sure. The The Saint Butterfly asked, "Have you thought it through?" Ding Meng sighed. "If you want me to spend the rest of my life alone in this temple, I would rather die. Without them, my life would lose its luster." The Saint Butterfly smiled. "This is why I chose you between you and Ming Yen. Although the universe is vast, only friendship can make life exciting. Only when beautiful and exciting memories are born can the universe last forever." After saying that, it slowly flew around the hall. Its wings scattered countless golden specks of energy. These specks of energy slowly gathered and formed interstellar space-time gates in the form of light. Xing Dai floated in front of him again. "You can go and come back at any time now. You can see the friends you once knew, as well as those from before. You can make new friends, but there is one thing you can't do, and that is you can't go to the future. Your limit is at this point in time." Ding Meng stood up and smiled. "It doesn't matter. The future will be created by the new master of the temple. There are countless new possibilities in the future, aren't there?" The Saint Butterfly said, "I hope your choice is correct." Ding Meng slowly walked towards a bright interstellar gate. He murmured, "I still believe that the future is beautiful, just like I believe that tomorrow will be sunny. When the sun shines and the wind rises again, it will be a good day for us to reunite." Chapter 11:10. The sky was blue, showing a dark beauty. It was so beautiful that it was mesmerizing. There were many grand, exquisite, and sacred palaces floating in the sky. Each of them was formed by two giant pearls, and they were connected by a ribbon of light formed by the divine light energy. Below the sky was the blue ocean, and there were all kinds of colorful cartoon buildings on the beach. The colorful buildings made people feel like they were in a fairy tale world. On the shallow beach of the ocean, many planet Mao Pearl people were holding fishing nets and carrying baskets on their back. In groups of 2s and 3s, they were diligently fishing. Precious crystals were scooped up one after another, emitting a pure white light. Occasionally, a true essence red crystal would be found, causing the planet Mao Pearl people to cheer. Ding Meng stood beside a crystal rock in the distance. He looked at the Mao Xing Pearl people with a smile and felt their happiness. This was the Mao Xing Pearl, one of the 6 major territories in the universe. Under his control, the Mao Xing Pearl people were not destroyed. They returned to the peaceful and happy times of the past. Behind Ding Meng, General Hong Yu stood respectfully. She was wearing a white robe. She no longer had the aura of a Night Luan warrior. She was now a divine light warrior in human form. She was nervous about the arrival of this god of creation. She didn't even know where to put her hands. "Master, are you going to the Mao Xing Palace?" Ding Meng waved his hand and said, "You don't have to call me Master. Just call me Mr. Ding Meng." "Got it." Hong Yu understood that Ding Meng didn't want a third person to know his true identity. Looking at the vast ocean and the peaceful scene, Ding Meng was in a good mood. He couldn't help but sigh. "Actually, I am from the Mao Xing Pearl. Without the Mao Xing Pearl people, where would I be?" Hong Yu understood. In his previous life, the Mao Xing Pearl people were destroyed. The royal family fled to the Cancer star system, where they established the Great Prosperous Kingdom. Ding Meng was born in the Great Prosperous Kingdom. "Lead the way. I want to see Ming Yen," Ding Meng ordered. "Yes." Hong Yu stepped forward respectfully. The two of them walked along the coastline, and then walked on a path of light. The path of light led straight to the clouds, and at the end was an extremely luxurious palace. Strictly speaking, this was a medical hall, and it specialized in treating people with serious hidden diseases. The reputation of this clinic wasn't inferior to any power or expert of the 6 territories, because in this world, Ming Yen was no longer the ruler of the Night Phoenix Empire. In this world, even the Night Phoenix Empire didn't exist anymore. Ming Yen was the owner of this clinic, a genius doctor whose name shook the world. Every day, countless people came to seek medical treatment. Regardless of whether they were royalty, nobles, or commoners, they would all be treated the same when they came here. They would be paid according to their abilities, and all the famous doctors would diagnose their illnesses. Walking into the clinic, Ding Meng felt as if he had returned to the illusionary realm of Mao Xing under the Holy Planet. But today there was no intrigue and deceit. There were only patients of various races on the square. Ming Yen was still dressed in white, and a veil covered her exquisite features. Hong Yu called out as soon as she stepped through the door, "Sister Yen, your friend Mr. Ting has come to visit you." Ming Yen raised her head when she heard this, and only after seeing Ding Meng's true appearance did she nod slightly in greeting. Ding Meng nodded as well. "You've done well. Keep it up." Ming Yen bowed slightly in thanks. Ding Meng's praise was not without reason. She was overseeing Mao Xing's mother planet, so the other countries would definitely not dare to covet Mao Xing's rich crystal mines, and the 6 territories would naturally not be able to incite internal strife. Then, she had used her divine-level power to heal the wounded and heal the dying, bestowing grace upon all living beings. This could be considered as doing good, and thus experiencing a different life. "Xiao Yu, go prepare afternoon tea for Mr. Ting," Ming Yen instructed. Ding Meng waved his hand and smiled. "No need. I'll just take a look around. You go about your business." Ming Yen nodded again in thanks, then turned and walked out the door. There were a lot of patients in the square. There were humanoid humans, Mao Xing Pearl people, Huck Clan people, and even demons. They were all sick and listless, sitting, lying, or curling up. But when they saw the fairy-like doctor come out, they all jumped up and yelled, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. "Dr. Mingyan, Dr. Mingyan, you're finally here. Rascal, don't cut the line. I came first. Scram, I came first. I paid." "Paid? Ming Yen Clinic doesn't sell ranking numbers. Idiot, you've been scammed." "Huh? The legendary Black Bull?" "Idiot, that's not a Black Bull. That's a scalper. Do you understand? I've been to a place called the Holy Grail Federation. They call scammers scalpers. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier?" Seeing that the crowd was in a mess, Hong Yu shouted, "Everyone, don't panic. As usual, Dr. Ming Yen will treat everyone in order. Please come one by one. When your name is called, please come forward. First, Guguya." Immediately, a tall Harker tribesman came forward. For Ding Meng, this person was tall enough, but for a normal Harker tribesman, 2 meters tall was really too small. Moreover, this person's skin was strangely black and white. It was obvious that he had a hidden disease. However, when he saw this person, Ding Meng felt very emotional. This was because this Harker tribesman used to be a mutant steel main man. In his previous life, he was Ding Meng's friend, Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai hadn't changed. He was still as timid as before. "Dr. Mingyan, can you take a look at me? I have a strange disease. Even our elder Harker couldn't cure this skin disease. I walked for 3 years to get here." Ming Yen didn't move. Ding Meng walked over and looked at Xiao Bai. Scenes of the past flashed before his eyes. He thought of the Akashic Sodium concentration camp. Xiao Bai felt a little uncomfortable being stared at. This human friend. "Do we know each other?" Ding Meng smiled ruefully. "You definitely don't recognize me." Xiao Bai lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. Ding Meng knew that Xiao Bai couldn't understand this sentence. He changed his words. "You don't have a serious disease." Xiao Bai raised his head. "Then what's the problem?" Ding Meng smiled. "It's just that your skin is a little infected by radiation. I can cure you." Xiao Bai's eyes lit up. "Can it really be cured?" Ding Meng smiled. He reached out his finger and gently touched Xiao Bai's forehead. Xiao Bai's dead black skin gradually recovered its luster. "Wow, I'm fine," Xiao Bai said in surprise. "Big brother, you're amazing. Thank you so much." Ding Meng smiled. "No need to thank me. Thank Dr. Ming. I'm an apprentice here." Ming Yen understood. She stepped forward and said, "Guguya, quickly thank Brother Ding." Thank you. Thank you. Xiao Bai quickly bowed. Thank you, Brother Ding. Ding Meng looked at Xiao Bai, who had returned to his original form. He missed him. You can go back. You don't have to pay the consultation fee. Go back to the Harker Kingdom and find General Zhan Tian. Ask him to take you to the mining workshop. Use your talent well. Your royal family will take care of you. Okay. Xiao Bai was so happy that he jumped up like a child. Hong Yu stepped forward and shouted, "Second, Avazaya." This time, 2 short female pearl people walked out from the crowd. Both of them were girls. In fact, the girl named Avazaya had a strong body and a straight back. When she walked, she had a heroic temperament. At first glance, one could tell that she was a warrior who had been cultivating since childhood. Moreover, her foundation was very solid. However, Avazaya did not seem to be sick. Instead, the other girl she was supporting was weak and sick. She was even gasping for breath when she walked. Judging from their accessories and earrings, they were not ordinary children. They should be from the wealthier class in the Mouse Star. Hong Yu was already frowning. You are not sick. Why are you here for medical treatment? Avazaya cupped her hands and performed a warrior's etiquette. Dr. Yu, my companion's ability to take care of herself is not good. Please forgive her. Dr. Ming Yen, please forgive her. Ming Yen nodded. This girl's companion must have a problem with her identity and did not want to talk about it. Ding Meng looked at the weak girl. Although she was a pearl person from the Mouse Star, she had a round face like an apple. She looked very cute. However, because of her weak body, she looked like she was dying. If she was in a normal state, she would be a lively and energetic naughty girl. The girl's eyes were especially big and bright. She also looked at Ding Meng and said weakly, I think I know you. Ding Meng was amused. Is that so? The girl said, I have been dreaming a lot recently. In my dreams, I have a very good human friend. He took me around the universe and let me see all kinds of legendary stories. It was really wonderful. He was very brave and very powerful. He is a little like you. Ding Meng smiled. How powerful is he? The girl's eyes darted around. Let me think. I can't remember the things in my dreams clearly. I only remember that he always defeated all kinds of strong enemies. He liked to stand up for those weak people. He always liked to say that sentence. How did he say it? Tell me, Zaya. Avazaya rolled her eyes. Can you stop thinking about those messy things? Let the doctor take a look at you. The girl began to act coquettishly. No, I forgot. Zaya, you must remember because I told you before. Avazaya had no choice but to sigh. Well, the human hero in your dreams always said that our mission is to fight for those who can't fight. The girl laughed heartily. Yes, yes, yes. That's it. How heroic. Ding Meng was shocked. He could not help but ask, Little girl, what is your name? Me? The girl smiled innocently. My name is Ariel. Ding Meng stared at the girl in a daze. The Mao Xing girl in front of him was Little Rascal, and the Avazaya beside her was Little Rascal's royal guard, Little AI. He did not expect to meet them again in Mao Xing in this life, and in Little Rascal's childhood. At this moment, Ding Meng's eyes turned red. Little Rascal was an illegitimate child, and was not treated well by the royal family. Therefore, he was weak and sickly since young. He even sneaked out to seek medical treatment. Little Rascal could not help but say, Apprentice Ding, I'm sorry. Dr. Ding, are you not feeling well? What happened to your eyes? I'm fine. Ding Meng forcibly suppressed the impulse in his heart. He really wanted to say, Little Rascal, don't you remember me? However, he also knew that Little Rascal would never remember who he was. However, fate would arrange for them to meet in the dream. Those years spent with Little Rascal and Little AI were rare happy times in his life. Moreover, in the most difficult days at the beginning of his cultivation, it was Little Rascal and Little AI who accompanied him, encouraged him to rush out of the black gold base and stride toward the light. So it turned out that Little Rascal's dream was about that touching past. They had met in another form. Ding Meng squatted down and said gently, "Ariel, you are not sick." Little AI was puzzled. "Not sick? Dr. Ding, why is her body so weak?" Ding Meng smiled and said, "Because she doesn't have a suitable piece of jewelry." Little Rascal and Little AI looked at each other. What kind of logic was this? Although Mao Xing valued jewelry, they had never heard of jewelry that could cure diseases. Ding Meng casually waved his hand, and a brown wristband appeared in his hand. He was now the god of creation, so he could create anything he wanted at any time. "Put it on. I promise you'll be fine soon," Ding Meng said with a smile. Little AI carefully put on the quaint wristband for Little Rascal. Little Rascal's face quickly regained its rosy color, and its aura suddenly became strong. It was the fluctuation of a beginner war venerable. Little Rascal immediately jumped up and jumped around. It did not look like a patient at all. Ding Meng's eyes flashed with Little Rascal's mischievous appearance. "Wow, you're so amazing, Dr. Ding. This is amazing." Little Rascal seemed very happy. She caressed the wristband lovingly, as if she was protecting her favorite toy. She did not know that this was the divine light wristband that belonged to her. In the future, when her strength increased greatly, the wristband would automatically transmit divine thoughts and teach her how to use the divine light thorn that made enemies tremble in fear. Little AI cupped her hands and bowed to Ding Meng. "Thank you so much, Dr. Ding. May I know your name?" Ding Meng stared at her and said word by word, "My name is Ding Meng." Little AI repeated it silently, as if she wanted to remember it forever. Ding Meng then turned to Little Rascal. "Ariel, you know what? I've been dreaming a lot too. I have 2 Mao Pearl friends too. They're both girls, and they're just as amazing. They've spurred me on to study hard, to believe in holiness, to persevere no matter how difficult it is, and to never give up." As he spoke, Ding Meng's voice slowly became hoarse. He had an urge to weep. Xing Dai was right. His friends were right in front of him, but he could not recognize them. Even if he did, they would not remember who he was. He could only use this method to reminisce about the past. Unexpectedly, Little Rascal listened attentively with a look of surprise on his face. "Ha, I knew it. I told you my dream was real. Perhaps my previous self was telling me about it in my dreams." Little AI said solemnly, "What are you thinking about? There's no previous life. There's only this life." She then turned to Ming Yen and thanked her. "Dr. Ming, Dr. Yu, Dr. Ding, I won't disturb you any longer. We should go." She held Little Rascal's hand and walked into the depths of the crowd. Little Rascal, on the other hand, was reluctant to part with Ding Meng. After walking a long distance, Little Rascal waved his hand and shouted, "Goodbye, Ding Meng. If you have the same dream again, tell your Mao Planet friends that next time, my human friend Hero will bring them along and travel with them, okay?" Ding Meng could only wave from afar. He silently wished them well in his heart. "Goodbye, Little Rascal and Little AI. Thank you. Thank you for being with me. If there's another reincarnation, I think we'll meet again. I'll definitely travel with you." Chapter 11:11. On Madison, the sun was still high in the sky. The spring breeze blew across the green grassland. The town of Health was still intact. A handsome young lady in a black cloak received a large bag of supplies from Tsing Kong. "How long will you be gone for this time?" Tsing Kong asked with concern. The young lady was cold and expressionless. "It will be a while before I leave." Tsing Kong did not mind. The young lady had such an independent style. She was neither cold nor warm to everyone. "Be careful," Tsing Kong reminded her again. "Okay." The young lady was very confident. She turned around and left. As soon as she walked out of the gate of the Research Institute, a small bird in the form of light descended from the sky and landed on her shoulder. This was the bird of light that Water Droplet had transformed into after its evolution. After its governance and grace, Madison and Green Tree were now full of vitality. They had become beautiful, rich, green, and habitable planet. However, the young lady still lived a simple life of hunting and chopping firewood. Now that the young lady walked out of health, a group of primitive savages wearing animal skins rushed up to her. They all stared at the bag in her hand. The young lady glared at them. "This is for the journey. What are you looking at? Get lost." The group of young people could only leave resentfully. However, the young lady stood still like a javelin. Her gaze was fixed on the rolling grassland in the distance. She was obviously waiting for someone. Fortunately, the person who came was very punctual. A woman from the Green Tree race in plain clothes walked towards the town gate with a short human man. Seeing the woman, the young lady's expression softened. "Long time no see, Nikona." Nikona was now the great prophet of the Green Tree race. She was also one of the young lady's few friends. Seeing that Nikona had brought a stranger, the young lady was puzzled. Nikona smiled. "Let me introduce him to you. He is Ding Meng. He is a good friend of mine. He came this time because he heard that you are going to the Federal Empire. He wants to give you a ride." The young lady agreed without thinking. "Okay, no problem." Ding Meng smiled. He didn't ask the girl's name because he knew who she was. This valiant girl was Jun Ling. Ding Meng had come to this time and space through the super life form tree god to send a message to Nikona. As a prophet, although Nikona could not guess Ding Meng's identity, she knew that he was someone sent by God. Naturally, he was a friend of her Green Tree tribe. Since she was Nikona's friend, Jun Ling didn't doubt her. She trusted Nikona's character. However, a young man suddenly jumped out from the side. His movements were as agile as a leopard's. He looked at Ding Meng from the corner of his eyes and said, "You want to come with us? Can you do it with your small body?" Ding Meng was still smiling. He was very pleased because this young man was Little Arrow. Elephant, Little Leopard, and Flowery were all beside him. They were still as simple, straightforward, and honest as they were in Ding Meng's memory. "I know how to use a saber," Ding Meng replied calmly. "Oh!" Little Arrow and the others were a little surprised. "Is that so?" Jun Ling suddenly said, "Give him a saber." Little Arrow immediately took off his saber and handed it to Ding Meng. Ding Meng looked at the sharp saber. His gaze was a little dazed. In the past, many strong enemies had died under this kukri saber. That was the time when he fought side by side with Jun Ling and the others. Ding Meng sighed and said, "Gorka saber, also known as the kukri saber." Little Arrow's eyes immediately revealed a proud look. "Brother, you have good taste." Ding Meng flipped his wrist, and the saber immediately spun a few rounds in his hand. Then, with a kacha sound, the saber broke into two. Elephant and Little Arrow's eyes immediately widened. How much strength did he need to break the kukri saber? Ding Meng waved his hand again, and a brand new kukri appeared in his hand. The kukri blade emitted a faint blue luster. Seeing this blade, Little Arrow and the others' eyes immediately lit up with a blazing light. Ding Meng grinned and handed the saber to Little Arrow with both hands. "This is for you. Consider it my meeting gift." Before Little Arrow could reach out, Elephant beside him snatched the saber and ran away. Little Arrow, Little Leopard, and the others also turned and chased after him. "Bastard Elephant, he gave it to me. Why did you snatch it? Shameless. Good things should be used by stronger people. I'm the most suitable. Come back, you stupid elephant. The saber is mine. Give it to me. Let me use it." The group of people caught up with the elephant, and then quickly began to tussle. Seeing them laughing and playing, Ding Meng's face also revealed a smile. The kukri saber he gave to Little Arrow was the Star Destroyer weapon used by Jun Ling. However, Little Arrow and the others were still weak, and could not unleash the true power of this saber. In the future, when they grew into interstellar warriors, they would be able to cut through the galaxy with one slash. Jun Ling's eyes flashed. Come with us. Ding Meng hurriedly said, Thank you. You're welcome. Jun Ling looked at the sky. Since you're here, you're one of us. This situation was very similar to their first meeting. Ding Meng followed Jun Ling's gaze and looked at the sky. Under the sun, a carrier slowly descended and steadily docked on the grassland. Elephant, Little Arrow, and the others ran happily to the starship. The starship's connecting cabin had already opened. Another familiar figure appeared in Ding Meng's eyes. It was a burly man in an officer's uniform. He was waving at Jun Ling, over here, over here. I'm here to pick you up. Jun Ling quickly stepped forward. Captain Kartika, sorry to trouble you again. You came here personally. Kartika laughed heartily. No trouble, no trouble. President Lin and the others specially asked me to come and pick you up. President Lin? Ding Meng's heart skipped a beat. Could it be Lin Aoshue and the others? Soon, he saw the beauties of Water Cherry Society in the command hall of the starship. Lin Aoshue, Lian Tingbai, Su Lingyue, Liang Yi, and Lu Qing. They were the same as before. There were no changes at all. All of them were youthful, beautiful, and in high spirits. The five of them sat on the sofa in the rest area, giggling and laughing, forming a beautiful scenery. Jun Ling walked over generously. She was obviously the most familiar with Lu Qing. You're here. Lu Qing's eyes lit up. I haven't seen you in a long time. Jun Ling nodded. Sister Qing, I'll have to trouble you this time. Lu Qing waved her hand and smiled. No need to thank me. Captain Kartika, this starship can only fly to the space station. There's another ship coming to pick us up to the Norse Empire. It'll be a long trip to the Federation. Jun Ling replied. Lu Qing then noticed Ding Meng. This gentleman looks very unfamiliar. Are you Jun Ling's friend? Ding Meng smiled and stepped forward. Hello, my name is Ding Meng. I'm from planet Mao. I'm a doctor. Ding Meng. Lu Qing frowned slightly. This name sounds familiar. I think I've heard it somewhere. Where is planet Mao? Ding Meng smiled. It's also a planet in outer space. Lu Qing was very polite. Mr. Ting, please take a seat. By the way, you're a doctor from outer space. Don't you need a medical pod in outer space? Ding Meng said, Yes, but I treat difficult and complicated diseases. Lu Qing's interest was piqued. Difficult and complicated diseases? Ding Meng smiled slightly. He had met Lu Qing through treatment. You have hyperthymesia. Lu Qing was surprised. You can tell? Ding Meng nodded. Lu Qing was even more surprised. But you don't have any psychic waves? Ding Meng sighed secretly. He was the strongest king in this universe. Once the strongest king concealed his aura, even the top powerhouses would not be able to sense it. Lu Qing was only a warlord now. How could she sense it? For a moment, Ding Meng felt a little emotional. After treating Lu Qing, it was the beginning of her relationship with Lu Qing. Now, she no longer needed to use psychic powers to treat her. This relationship might never come in this life. Ding Meng took out a small crystal bottle. There was a shiny red crystal inside. This can treat your hyperthymesia. This was a diluted true origin red crystal fragment. Not only could it cure Lu Qing, but it could also allow her to enter the ranks of warlords soon. Lu Qing took the small bottle with a puzzled expression. Is it really effective? Don't worry, it's definitely effective, Jun Ling said. Lu Qing was even more puzzled. Jun Ling explained, Ding Meng is also my friend. When she said this, her eyes were fixed on Ding Meng's palm. There was a thick layer of calluses on the edge of his palm, as well as the area between his thumb and index finger. This proved that Ding Meng had also walked out of a difficult life, and was the same kind of person as her. Jun Ling was not good with words, but from her words and actions, Ding Meng could see her trust in him. For a moment, warmth surged in his heart. Among his friends, Jun Ling could be said to be one of the most trusting people. Otherwise, there would not be such a heroic act of sacrificing oneself. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ding Meng. Lu Qing carefully kept the bottle and thanked him politely. You're welcome. Ding Meng could only respond politely. I still have to thank you for giving me a ride. Then, Ding Meng sat down in the resting area and quietly watched this group of old friends chatting and laughing. To him, it did not seem that important whether they recognized each other or not. Seeing that his friends were still alive and their faces were filled with happy smiles, Ding Meng felt very satisfied. It turned out that having a group of friends in one's life was the happiest thing. Compared to being the master of the holy sanctum, Ding Meng was also immersed in joy at this moment. The transport ship slowly rose into the air. After flying for an unknown period of time, Ding Meng realized that Lu Qing had been staring at her. What's the matter? Ding Meng asked. Lu Qing blushed and waved her hand. Sorry for being rude. I have a feeling that we used to know each other, right? Ding Meng smiled again. Maybe, but why do you have this feeling? Lu Qing smiled bitterly and said, I don't know. Anyway, I can't tell you the reason. But I have a strong intuition that we must have met somewhere in the past. Ding Meng smiled. A woman's sixth sense was often unreasonable. At this time, Su Lingyue came over with a smile. Okay, I'll say it for Qing Qing. Dr. Ding Meng, do you have a girlfriend? Well, Ding Meng suddenly understood. So, this was how beautiful women hit on each other. Well, I don't think so. Looking at his uneasy appearance, the group burst into laughter. Lu Qing's face was flushed with shyness, just like when they first met. Chapter 11-12. Planet Madison Space Station. Kataga's carrier ship slowly docked with a large integrated starship in space. Looking at the strange-looking starship, Ding Meng felt that it looked familiar. He was sure that he had seen this starship somewhere before. As the connecting passage connected, Jun Ling and the others filed in. On the opposite side of the passage, a group of uniformed soldiers lined up neatly to welcome them. The leader was a beautiful young officer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Conqueror. The female officer gave Lin Aoshue a standard military salute. Ding Meng was shocked again. The Conqueror? Wasn't this Chu Xiaoqing's starship? Fortunately, Jun Ling explained, the commander of this starship is a friend of mine from the Norse Empire. She's a lieutenant colonel. You can call her Lieutenant Colonel Chu. Ding Meng nodded. He didn't ask how Jun Ling knew Chu Xiaoqing in this life. He only knew that under the influence of the holy sanctum, history had been rewritten. In the command hall, a group of men and women were already waiting. Although they were young, they were all wearing the uniform of a commander. They were all friendly with the Water Sakura Association, and Jun Ling Ding Meng looked at them and didn't know what to say. All he could see were memories of them from his previous life. Chu Xiaoqing, Xing Yi Ruolan, Long Ming, Randy, and Claus. The last three had died in the underground warship of the Black Gold Base. Long Ming was killed by Ding Meng, Claus was buried in the ruins, and Randy died protecting Chu Xiaoqing. Because of this incident, Chu Xiaoqing didn't even ask about marriage in her previous life and remained unmarried. Now they had all been resurrected. They had all passed the exam of Planet TT-12 and stepped onto the path of the military. They had made great contributions and became soldiers of the Norse Empire's patrol fleet. Looking at the lively smiles and the enthusiasm of everyone, Ding Meng felt as if he had returned to the time when he first went to Liston Academy. How should I address you, my friend? Chu Xiaoqing's voice woke Ding Meng up. Before Jun Ling could introduce him, Lu Qing beat him to it. He's Ding Meng. He's our friend and also a doctor. To be called a doctor in this day and age, one would definitely have excellent skills. To put it bluntly, a doctor would be able to solve a difficult problem that even the medical cabin could not solve. Chu Xiaoqing's eyes brightened. Oh, it's Dr. Ding. Sorry for the disrespect. By the way, we saved a group of interstellar refugees with strange diseases on the way here. The strange thing is that our military medical cabin can't cure their chronic diseases. I wonder if Dr. Ding can help to take a look? Ding Meng smiled and extended his hand. Lieutenant Colonel Chu, please lead the way. Inside the sealed healing cabin of the starship, dozens of medical cabins were neatly arranged in the bright hall. Inside each cabin, there were refugees whose bodies were festering. Some of them had even mutated, and they were all moaning in pain. Chu Shaoqing was about to introduce them, but Ding Meng waved his hand to stop her. Seeing Ding Meng's solemn expression, Chu Shaoqing did not dare to say anything. She thought that Ding Meng did not want to disturb his doctor's observation. In fact, Ding Meng was filled with emotions at the moment because he knew all the people in these medical cabins. Aunt Shiyan, Senior Rin Tianlan, Meng Yan, Jin Tai, Qing Feng. They were all the descendants of the doctors who survived on Pandora V4. In his previous life, they were saved by Ding Meng with his blood. He did not expect that he would have to save them again in this life. Open all the medical cabins, Ding Meng ordered lightly. This, Chu Shaoqing pondered. Will there be any problems? Ding Meng said, don't worry. I can cure them. Beside him, Lu Qing also nodded. Yes, Dr. Ding came from a planet in outer space. He must have his own unique skills. With Chu Shaoqing's order, all the protective covers of the medical cabins were automatically removed. Ding Meng raised a finger, and the singularity at the tip of his finger rotated and flew into the air. Then, with a bang, it turned into countless dots of energy. These healing energy flowed into everyone's body like fairies scattering flowers. Everyone returned to their normal state at a very fast speed. This was a divine skill for Chu Shaoqing and the others. Lu Qing said in surprise, Dr. Ding, you're probably a warlord-level psionicist, aren't you? Yes. Ding Meng did not want to explain too much. I dug up a lot of natural treasures on planet Mao when I was young, so I have a lot of energy. Chu Shaoqing's eyes were full of envy. Dr. Ding, you have such achievements at such a young age. It's admirable. At this time, Xueyan and the others, who had recovered from their shock, walked toward Ding Meng. Meng Yan, who was wearing a long fur cloak, walked over and bowed deeply. She seemed to be about to say something, but Ding Meng immediately interrupted her. Don't thank me. The person you should really thank is Lieutenant Colonel Chu. She saved you in space. What he said was true. In principle, the commander of the Norse Empire's patrol fleet was not allowed to take in refugees from the Holy Grail Federation. Chu Shaoqing must have taken a great risk to do this. Therefore, they immediately turned around and bowed to Chu Shaoqing to thank her. Ding Meng called Meng Yan to the side. Meng Yan was a little confused. Dr. Ding, what can I do for you? I will not refuse anything that is within my ability. Sister Yan, you are still exactly the same as you were in your previous life. Even your tone of speaking has not changed. Ding Meng said in a low voice, before you recovered, you did a lot of stealing in outer space under the name of Nightmare, right? Meng Yan looked at the stranger in front of her in surprise. She did not understand how Ding Meng knew so much about her privacy. Ding Meng smiled and said, don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone, and I won't threaten you. I just want to ask you for some information. Meng Yan said respectfully, Dr. Ding, please tell me. Ding Meng said, do you know planet KV-303? He was not sure if Captain Silman, Ah Qiao, and Xiao Shanzi were still there in this life. Meng Yan immediately replied, yes, it's the Green Arrow refugee camp's subbase. I heard that it has been harassed by the extreme pirates these years. Very good. Ding Meng let out a sigh of relief. I want you to go there and help those who need your help. You have to do your best to help them and protect them. Are you willing to go? Meng Yan hesitated for a moment, but in the end she still firmly cupped her hands and said, I will never forget Dr. Ding's kindness of giving me a new life. Meng Yan will do her best to fulfill Dr. Ding's orders. Ding Meng smiled and said, you really haven't changed at all. You are still the same person. Meng Yan was baffled when she heard this. Dr. Ding seemed to have known her for a long time? Ding Meng gently waved his hand, and a yellow knife with a hint of blue appeared between his fingers. It had a twisted arc, a strange aura, and an exquisite blade. This was the heroic knife. I gave it to you personally, Ding Meng said. Meng Yan immediately felt the sharpness of the blade. With her current strength as a war reverend, she could not sense the energy contained in this extraordinary weapon, but she knew that this knife was definitely not ordinary. Ding Meng said, "This is not an ordinary knife. It is called the heroic knife. It has been passed down for many generations. The owners of each generation kept their promises and protected the world. They even sacrificed their lives for a promise. Therefore, this knife has written many heroic stories and given birth to many moving legends. I will now solemnly pass it to you. Remember, this knife must be left to those who really need it. You must protect it well, use it, love it, move forward bravely, and never give up." Meng Yan was still a little hesitant. Suddenly she felt dizzy. The knife seemed to have some kind of magical power that could penetrate her head. Its aura surged directly into her brain, bringing with it a lot of information. Of course, she did not know that this was a divine thought information flow, but a lot of memories suddenly appeared in her mind. She was still in a daze when she suddenly realized that the heroic knife was already in her hand. There seemed to be a huge amount of energy inside the knife. A huge amount of energy was forcibly injected through her palm. Not only did it transform her body, but it also transformed her origin. It was the basic cultivation method of the Diamond Star technique, which allowed her to directly become a low-level divine light martial artist. This was enough to dominate the outer space near the major countries. At least, it was more than enough for her to wipe out the extreme pirates. Feeling the changes in her body, Meng Yan could not help but kneel on one knee. She knew that she had met a legendary expert. "Dr. Ding, Meng Yan will never forget your kindness." Ding Meng smiled and said, "Get up. Remember to do what you promised me. That will be the greatest repayment to me." After saying that, he turned and walked toward the exit, leaving Meng Yan standing there in a daze. It was not until Ding Meng disappeared into the passage that she sighed and muttered to herself, "So, the sacred tree can really predict the future. It said that a doctor can cure us. Could it be this Dr. Ding? But I don't know why, but why does Dr. Ding's back look so familiar? I must have seen him somewhere before. Yes, I must have seen him before." While she was sighing, Ding Meng had already returned to the command center's resting area. Chu Shaoqing, who had seen his superb skills, took the initiative to approach him. "Dr. Ding," Ding Meng said, "Lieutenant Colonel Chu, is there anything else?" Chu Shaoqing smiled and said, "Dr. Ding, you have achieved so much at such a young age. I wonder if you have any intention of coming to the Norse Empire." Ding Meng quickly waved his hand. "Lieutenant Colonel Chu, thank you for your kindness. The end of my journey is to return to the Holy Grail Federation. I'm back." Chu Shaoqing frowned. "Back?" Ding Meng knew that she would definitely not understand. It was like he was walking back in the past and finally returning to the beginning of the story. That was his wish. However, Chu Shaoqing misunderstood. "Dr. Ding, if you want to go to the Federation, it's still a long way. My fleet can only send you to the western border of the Empire." Ding Meng waved his hand and said, "It's okay. Lieutenant Colonel Chu, you have helped us a lot. Next, I will find a way to go to the Federation." Chu Shaoqing said with regret, "Well, I can only wish you a safe journey. If you have time in the future, you can contact me at any time." Ding Meng nodded firmly. "I will." Chapter 11-13. At the western border of the Empire, a corner of a bungalow could be seen in a picturesque valley. This was a green and primitive village, but at the same time, it also meant that this was a poor and backward village. Ding Meng walked quietly on the secluded mountain path, the dried leaves under his feet creaking under his feet. It was already late autumn, but there was no sign of a harvest. This was because he had not seen a single villager on his way here. In the courtyard of a rundown 2-story bungalow at the entrance of the village, a white-haired old woman was mending a piece of coarse cloth with her head lowered. The dark blue cloth had been washed until it was white, and there were even a few patches on it. However, the old woman could not bear to throw it away. The lives of these poor people had always been like this. They could not be any more thrifty. Ding Meng had a deep understanding of this. Suddenly, the old woman stopped her work because she saw Ding Meng at the entrance of the courtyard. The old woman did not look old. Perhaps it was because of her poor life and rough experiences that caused her hair to turn white and her wrinkles to deepen. Thus, she looked like an elderly village woman. "Young man, are you from outside?" The old woman appeared very benevolent. Ding Meng also felt her kindness. "Old woman, I'm just passing by. I'm heading to Xiong town on the western border." The old woman said, "It's getting late. There are many wild beasts in the mountains. It's not safe. Young man, why don't you rest here for the night and set off tomorrow morning?" What wild beast could Ding Meng not handle? Even interstellar monsters could be destroyed with a wave of his hand. However, the old woman's benevolence and kindness made it impossible for Ding Meng to reject her. He still walked in. "Old woman, thank you. My name is Ding Meng. I'll stay in your courtyard for the night. I'll pay for it." The old woman smiled and said, "Young man, you're too polite. You don't look like the child of a rich family. Are you going to Xiong town to visit your relatives?" Ding Meng could only agree. "Yes, I'm going to visit my distant relatives." The old woman continued, "Young man, you're about the same age as my son. Rest for a while. He went next door. He should be back by now." Ding Meng nodded. It seemed that the old man was not a widow. He should have a son, so his life was still secure. In the evening, a tall young man dressed in hemp clothes hurriedly walked in from outside. He had a chopper on his waist. Although his clothes were tattered, he had a handsome face and a strong body. At first glance, one could tell that he was a hunter in this village. However, he looked a little frustrated and angry. Ignoring Ding Meng's presence, he sat down on the straw stool. "Ah Yang, you're back. Have you settled the matter?" the old woman asked with concern. Ah Yang picked up the ladle on the wooden table and drank half the ladle of water in one gulp before saying, "It didn't happen." The old woman was puzzled. "What's wrong? Is it because you are too hot-tempered that you annoyed Uncle Gue?" Ah Yang looked very irritated. "I didn't rush. Uncle Gue said that as long as we can take out 20 cows, 30 pigs, 15 pieces of good satin, and build a new house, Uncle Gue will agree to let Ah Min marry into our family." The old woman did not speak. Although she was expressionless, the wrinkles on her face seemed to have deepened. At this moment she seemed to have aged even more. Ah Yang said, "Uncle Gue also said that he has considered our family's situation. This is already the biggest compromise. Otherwise, Ah Min will have to marry into the Wang family in the neighboring village. His family and the Wang family have already set a date. The wedding will be held on the 8th of next month." When he said these words, Ah Yang's eyes were red. It was hard to imagine how such a strong and honest farmer's boy would look like when he cried. It was also clear that he had deep feelings for the so-called Ah Min. However, his family was too poor to take out the money. He could only watch his beloved girl marry someone else. This kind of thing happened all the time, even in the big cities of the Federal Empire, not to mention the border. The tragedies since ancient times would never change because of time and space. After an unknown period of time, the old woman sighed and said with a trembling voice, "Ah Yang, our family can't take out these things. Maybe this is fate." Looking at his mother's sad expression, Ah Yang was no longer depressed. Instead, he patiently persuaded her. "Mother, I'm not sad. I know you are sad. Ah Min is a good girl. It's just that we don't have that fate. We can't marry her. The atmosphere suddenly became silent. There was an invisible layer of oppression in the air. Suddenly, Yang's expression changed. He seemed to have a glimmer of light, but he also seemed to have made a great decision. However, his eyes were filled with heartache. Mother, I have something to discuss with you. The old woman sighed. Yang, just say what you want to say. Don't keep it in and feel bad. Yang slowly stood up. His tone was heavy and firm. Mother, I want to go. The old woman was a little surprised. Where do you want to go? Yang gritted his teeth. I want to leave Sunset Village and go to town. Then, I want to go to the Empire. I want to make a name for myself in the Norse Empire while I'm still young. When I'm successful in the future, I'll come back and take you and Min away. But, he lowered his head again, not daring to meet his mother's eyes. The old woman was already in her twilight years. If he left, there would be no one to take care of his mother. Even if he came back after he was successful, it was unknown if the old woman would still be around. However, if he did not leave, his life would be destined. He was destined to be with the forest, destined to chop firewood for a living. He was destined to be poor for the rest of his life. He would be despised, belittled, and looked down upon. He would not even be able to protect the girl he loved the most. Perhaps he would not even need to live for the rest of his life. He did not want to spend his life in mediocrity. He wanted to stand up and straighten his back. He wanted to say to everyone who looked down on him, "No one can reject me." This was really the most difficult choice for a young man in the world. He thought that his mother would not agree, but the old woman stood up shakily. She looked at him with a kind and caring gaze. Yang, go. Yang was stunned. Mother, why are you? The old woman interrupted him. Yang, your ancestors have been living in this ravine for generations. They have been working hard and suffering all their lives. I also hope that you can go out and take a look at the outside world. I don't expect you to be successful. I just hope that you won't be looked down upon by others. I don't want you to be like your father and the rest, unable to even afford a single bit of money, Yang said. But if I leave, what will happen to you? Who will take care of you? The old woman revealed a kind smile. Silly child, I can take care of myself. If you become successful in the future, I'll be happier than anything else. I'll wait here for you to come back and take me to the city to enjoy life. I won't be your burden. With a thud, Yang knelt down on one knee in front of his mother. All mothers in the world were the same. They all hoped that their children would become successful and bring honor to their ancestors. For this, they could endure any grievances and were willing to accept any suffering. Yang lowered his head and did not say anything else. No one could see the expression on his face, but his tears fell drop by drop, soaking the land of his hometown. Ding Meng watched quietly from the side. He did not say anything because he knew what had happened later. The poor and downtrodden farmer youth in front of him had really left Sunset Village and headed to the Norse Empire. He worked hard in silence. He overcame all difficulties and finally became the supreme commander of this empire. His name spread far and wide. He was the wise and terrifying, sunny and complicated, kind and merciless Chancellor Wenyang. The old woman in front of him was Wenyang's mother. The scene in front of him was the scene of Chancellor Wenyang bidding farewell to his lonely mother and heading to the empire alone. Ding Meng did not know what he should say or do. If he had let Wenyang go on his way, the federal empire would have stirred up a storm of swords and blood. How many innocent people would have died because of him? How many families would have suffered miserably because of him? The war in the southern horizon and the war in the fertile chalk system would have left corpses strewn all over the place and blood flowing like rivers. Later on, even those experts would have been dragged into it. Zhong Yalan, Gong Ping, Lin Fei, Guan Lin, an ugly woman, Zhong Yu, Lin Fei, Guan Xinqing, Ji Chenxue, Ji Chenyu. If he hadn't allowed Wenyang to leave, the things that happened later wouldn't have happened. However, the scene of the mother and son parting made Ding Meng unable to harden his heart to stop them. This was because he had also been poor and downtrodden before. He had also been belittled and humiliated by others, sold, and treated like an animal. Therefore, he understood the preciousness of family ties, understood the hardships and happiness of struggle, and even more understood the responsibility and mission that a man had to shoulder. Therefore, he was now in a dilemma and was hesitant. If the reincarnation of fate was to happen again, he did not want some tragic stories to happen again. Even though he was the creator of this universe, he had no right to interfere with the wishes and choices of individuals because this was the right that he, the creator, had bestowed upon humans. Just as he was in a dilemma, two people rushed in from the main door. They were a young brother and sister, a man and a woman. Ding Meng was shocked once again. It was Gu Zi and Yi Zi. In this life, they were not on Thousand Sails Planet, but had become Wen Yang's neighbors. Gu Zi was still as honest and sincere as ever. As soon as he came in, he did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Big brother Wen Yang, did Uncle Gue make things difficult for you? Wen Yang stood up in surprise. Gu Zi, when did you find out? Gu Zi was about the same height as Wen Yang, and he had a stubborn look on his face. Isn't it just building a new house? Big brother Wen Yang, don't worry, I have plenty of strength. I'm the best at building houses. I promise to build a new house in half a month. Looking at the slightly childish and stubborn Gu Zi, Wen Yang revealed a rare smile. You two aren't fishing anymore? Yi Zi was holding a large bamboo basket in her hands, which contained more than 10 colorful fresh fish. She smiled happily. Big brother Wen Yang, we caught some good fish, and we showed it to old Mr. Wu in the village. Old Mr. Wu said that if we brought these fish to town, we could sell them for a lot of money. Once I have money, I'll help Big brother Wen Yang. Big brother Wen Yang, what do you think? When I get married in the future, can Big brother Wen Yang help me raise money? She was still young and naive, and didn't know much about the ways of the world. If they really brought these fish to town, they might not be able to sell them for a lot of money. However, the sincerity and simplicity of the two siblings made Wen Yang feel the existence of family. They were partners who went up and down the mountain with him every day. They would never forget him at any time, and would lend him a helping hand whenever he was in trouble. Ding Meng was also influenced by them. In his previous life, Wen Yang and the Gu siblings had nothing to do with each other. However, in this life, although Wen Yang and the Gu siblings didn't go through life and death together, they never left each other. Was it because of his arrival that their fates were changed? Ding Meng was still in a daze when someone came into the yard. After taking a closer look, he was shocked again. The people who came were Old Yu and Yu Man. Old Yu was still dressed like an old farmer, but Yu Man was dressed fashionably. Her clothes had changed, but her appearance hadn't. Yu Man's face was full of joy. Brother Wen Yang, Auntie Shueishue, we're here. We're here to see you. Old Yu smiled and said, Don't worry, my family's harvest this year is good. I have yaks and pigs. Ah Yang, I'll pay for this for you. I watched you grow up. You're my child, just like Ah Man. How can I let you be wronged? Uncle Yu. Wen Yang's eyes turned red again, and his voice was choked with sobs. He now understood that compared to the so-called success, family and friendship were more precious. The two neighbors had given him the warmest support during his most difficult time. Ding Meng also sighed inwardly. Even though head of state Wen Yang had both fame and fortune in his previous life, and had absolute authority over the world, and could give almost anything he wanted, but the emotions and warmth of these grassroots people were something he would never be able to obtain. This was his most precious treasure. There was another sound from outside. Everyone turned their heads to look. A long crystal-powered truck stopped at the gate. In the driver's seat, a pretty girl wearing a logistics uniform was looking inside. Hey young man, is this your home? Wen Yang was a little surprised. He took the initiative to go forward. Hello miss, we meet again. The pretty girl smiled sweetly. Oh right, last time I met you at the back of the mountain, I didn't have time to ask for your name. I had to ask Lu Jihao from the neighboring village to know that you live here. Wen Yang was a little embarrassed. He scratched his head and said, Miss, my name is Wen Yang. Last time, I was in too much of a hurry and didn't have time to tell you my address. The pretty girl's eyes were very large, and they flashed with a mesmerizing light. I'm called Han Yin. I'm a buyer for Sunset City's Tianyu Company. Oh right, Wen Yang, do you still have any of the crystal Phoebe wood that you cut down last time? Can you sell me some? Wen Yang hurriedly nodded. I do. How much do you want? Han Yin smiled. I want as much as you have. How about 1 star coin per piece? As long as the quality is good, I'll take it all. Look, I even brought my car here. The wood she wanted had already been piled up in Wen Yang's backyard, and she was paying for it in star coins. This was practically a windfall for Wen Yang's family. Wen Yang hurriedly nodded. Miss Han, please take a seat and drink some water. I'll go to the back and help you carry it. Gu Zi raised his hand. Brother Wen Yang, I'll help you carry it. Yitzi put down the fish basket. Wait for me, I'll help. Yu Man also ran towards the backyard. I'll go too. Seeing the young people scrambling to carry the wood, old Yu smiled. Wen Yang's mother also smiled. Ding Meng smiled even more happily, because he knew that in this life, there would no longer be that complicated and terrifying head of state Wen Yang. There would only be a family of hunters living a happy and worry-free life. The next night, a plainly dressed and decent-looking peasant girl was escorted into the Wen clan's courtyard. She was the Min that Wen Yang had mentioned. The money had already been gathered during the day, so Min's family had directly invited her to the Wen clan as a guest. A bright bonfire was lit in the courtyard. Everyone sat in a circle on the ground. Wen Yang roasted wild rabbit meat, which he rarely did. He dug out the wine that had been buried for a long time from the field, and gave everyone a portion. For the hard-working hunters, this was already a great enjoyment. Not only did Ding Meng stay, but even Han Yen was enthusiastically asked to stay to enjoy this pleasant night together. Wen Yang held a clay bowl overflowing with wine and looked at everyone emotionally. I don't know what to say. Anyway, I want to thank everyone. This bowl of wine is for everyone. I'll drink it first as a toast. After that, he raised his head and drank the wine in one gulp. Everyone cheered and drank the wine. Min stood beside Wen Yang and looked at everyone with a smile. Her face was exceptionally red in the light of the bonfire. It was the color of sweetness and the luster of happiness. Late at night, Ding Meng did not choose to stay. He wanted to leave in Han Yan's truck. Wen Yang naturally wanted to persuade him to stay. Brother Ding, didn't we agree to leave tomorrow morning? Why are you leaving so late? I'll escort you to the back of the mountain tomorrow morning. Ding Meng smiled meaningfully. No need. As long as you live well, it will be a comfort to everyone. Wen Yang certainly did not understand this sentence, but he did not know how to express it. He could only sincerely thank him. Brother Ding, today was a distressing matter. But as soon as you came, good luck followed. You must have brought good luck to me. Anyway, I want to thank you. Ding Meng patted him on the shoulder. Do you know? The outside world may not be as wonderful as you think. You are actually more suitable for this place. This is your real home. Wen Yang nodded as if he understood. Brother Ding, you are right. Ding Meng said, when I return in the future, I will come to see you again. Thank you for your hospitality today. This is a small gift from me. Take it as a congratulatory gift to you and Min. Take it. Wen Yang suddenly had a bundle in his hand. When he opened it, there was a black cloak inside. This was not the divine light cloak, but it contained awakened origin energy. In the future, it would help Wen Yang, Guzi, Yitzi, Yuman, and Han Yen become origin energy users. At the very least, it would allow them to live in this village safely for the rest of their lives. Ding Meng gave this to him, just like how he had given the divine light cloak to Ding Meng on Planet 5. Back then, it was the beginning of a complicated conspiracy. Now, it was a commemoration of their friendship. When Yang stroked the soft cloak, feeling the energy surging from it, he had never felt so comfortable before. When he looked up again, Ding Meng's figure gradually disappeared into the night. Yizhi ran out from behind with a skewer. "Brother Wen Yang, did Brother Ding Meng leave? My brother still wants to drink with him." Wen Yang looked in the direction that Ding Meng had left, and his expression became thoughtful. "It seems like he left, but I have a feeling that he never left." Yizhi nodded. "Yes, I have the same feeling. He seems very quiet, but he is like family to us. Brother Wen Yang, do you think Brother Ding Meng will come back to see us?" Wen Yang's gaze was resolute. "He definitely will. He will definitely come back." Chapter 11-14. In the space station of Flying Star City, spaceships were entering and exiting one after another. However, all the spaceships shared a common feature, which was that they were in all kinds of bizarre shapes and sizes. The experienced travelers would know that this was not an official spaceport but a temporary dock established by the forces in outer space. Ding Meng walked into the crowded helipad plaza. Here, countless navigators were holding up their crystal boards and yelling, "Sir, sir! Come, 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 if you want to go to Planet Luji, come here. The price is cheap and the service is good. Is there anyone going to Planet Gold Sand? There's only one person left. Get on the ship and leave. Really, my son wants you. Planet Cyprus is one step faster, 2,000 star coins. There's an 8-hour induction cabin on the way. Snacks and fruits are also included. It's quite a good deal. Brothers going to Planet Aqua Blue? 1,500 star coins is on sale. The last 2 tickets are half price. First come, first serve." Looking at the lively scene, Ding Meng happily walked toward Gate 1. Because the line here was the shortest, the terminal was usually the most difficult to reach, so there were the fewest customers. Although there were not many customers, the navigators were all dressed in suits and leather shoes. Their leather shoes were shiny, and they looked like humans. Their purpose was to appear more superior among the galactic refugees and mercenaries. As soon as Ding Meng arrived, the suited navigator immediately approached him with a smile. "Welcome, customer friend. Your mood is our expression and your thoughts are our methods. Where are you going?" Ding Meng looked at this person and couldn't help but smile. This person has already arrived at the Flying Star City from Cypress Grove Planet. This person is Liao Zhang of the Top Wind Food and Entertainment International Limited, the one who managed the Heaven's Luck. "I'm going to Blue Pole Star City. Can your ship reach me?" Ding Meng asked calmly. In fact, this question shouldn't have been asked. The answer was that Liao Zhang's Heaven's Fate was a non-official ship in outer space. If he wanted to enter the Holy Grail Federation's territory, it would undoubtedly mean that his business was too good. "Ha, brother, you've come at the right time. We're going to the Blue Pole Star City of the Azure Star System." Liao Zhang's face was full of surprise. However, he was secretly thinking about how to get the guests on board first. Ding Meng asked, "How much is the ticket?" Liao Zhang stretched out 2 fingers. "Not much, only 30,000 star coins." 30,000 star coins was indeed not a lot to send someone into the Federation's territory. To be precise, it was a huge profit. Ding Meng nodded and said, "Okay, take me up there." What stopped at the launch pad was not the Tianyun, but a brand new, shiny medium-sized carrier. After entering the cabin of the starship, Ding Meng found that Liao Zhang was much smarter than before. The cabin had been changed into a hall similar to a teahouse. Rows of booths were neatly arranged, and there were even people serving them. Unfortunately, there were very few customers. There were only a few scattered groups of people. Ding Meng glanced around the hall and then walked straight to the northwest corner. There was a floor-to-ceiling crystal window there that allowed one to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the stars in space. It was the best position. There were other customers chatting in the booth. Among them was a young woman holding a 5 or 6-year-old child. The woman was nervously looking next door. This was the first time she had traveled so far, so it was inevitable that she was worried that she would run into some shady people on the way. The child, on the other hand, had his eyes wide open in curiosity. He was very interested in everything about the outside world. Ding Meng sat down across from the mother and daughter and let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally seen the people he cared about, Ah Qiao and Xiao Shanzi. They were still alive and had not suffered the disaster of being poisoned. For Ding Meng, this was enough to comfort him. "Big brother, are you going to Blue Pole Star City too?" Xiao Shanzi took the initiative to speak. Ding Meng smiled and nodded. "Yes, I'm going to visit an old friend. What about you?" Xiao Shanzi was still as active as before. He immediately broke free from Ah Qiao's embrace and punched twice on the spot. "I'm finally going to the martial arts school to learn martial arts." Ah Qiao quickly pulled him back. "Xiao Shanzi, don't move around. You have to be polite to others." Xiao Shanzi smiled like a child. "Hee okay." At this time, someone brought drinks and snacks over. Ding Meng turned his head and almost blurted out. There were two well-dressed attendants. One was tall and the other was thin and weak. The two of them looked very out of place when standing next to each other. However, Ding Meng also knew these two people. They were the commander and Xiao Si. Xiao Si, who had died tragically in his memory, had actually survived in this life. He had even left the black gold base and become an attendant on this starship. Perhaps this was not the best ending, but for Xiao Si, having a legitimate job to make a living was already a great blessing. "Please enjoy your meal." The Grand Marshal greeted them courteously and then called for Xiao Si to leave. Xiao Si was still the same as before. His head was lowered and he looked very quiet. He was full of thoughts. "Wait!" Ding Meng stopped him. The commander immediately turned around. "Is there anything else you need, sir?" Ding Meng looked at Xiao Si. "Your surname is Zhong, right?" Xiao Si was very surprised. "How did you know?" Ding Meng smiled. "Especially, light 2 packs of cigarettes for me and send them to that table over there. Tell them that I'm treating them and I'll pay for the expenses." Xiao Si followed his gaze and saw that there was a table of customers in the southwest direction. They were obviously two young couples. Although Xiao Si was a little surprised, he still did as Ding Meng said. After all, Ding Meng was a customer who was willing to pay a high price. Thus, 2 packs of cigarettes were quickly placed on the seats of the couples. "Huh? Mao, what brand of cigarettes is this? I've never seen it before. Let me see the logo, Danhong Mountain? That's a good name, a good name." Mao spat disdainfully. "4 eyes, you uncultured thing. That's Hongta Mountain, not Danhong Mountain. I usually tell you to read more books and recognize a few words, but you don't listen. With your illiteracy level, you want to go to Blue Pole Star City? Are you going there to beg?" For Eyes smiled and said, "Hee, my eyes were misty just now, so I didn't see clearly." Then he turned his head to the beautiful woman beside him and said with a smile, "Wife, don't pay attention to him. Mao is an idiot who doesn't know anything. We can definitely go to Blue Pole Star City. My cousin said that he wants me to work in his company." The woman he called his wife was none other than the goddess that 4 Eyes had a crush on, Yen Jie of the Sky Wolf Corps. Now, the two of them were together and had become lovers. Mao's girlfriend was also someone that Ding Meng knew. She was the female soldier Lu Fei that Meng Yan had imitated in Meteor City. Ding Meng did not expect that everyone's identities would change in this life. Of course, the people who did not change were still the people. For Eyes and Mao got 2 packs of cigarettes for no reason, so they naturally came to Ding Meng to thank him. "So, it's Brother Ding. It's an honor to meet you." For Eyes pretended to be polite. Ding Meng smiled and said, Do you know that we have boarded a pirate ship? A pirate ship? Mao was stunned when he heard that. Ah Qiao, who was next to him, was also a little nervous. She immediately hugged Xiao Shanzi tightly. Ding Meng said, "You can't be naive enough to think that a spaceship from outer space can pass the border space station's inspection, right?" Four Eyes scratched his head and said, "But Boss Pei said that his ship has a special pass." "Is that so?" Ding Meng stared at him. "Anyway, that's what he said." Four Eyes braced himself and answered. Ding Meng said, "We'll know when we enter the Federation's border." In fact, they did not have to wait too long. As the starship sailed, everyone could see the situation outside with their naked eyes. The Federation's patrol fleet floated in the distant nebula like a ribbon. However, several cruisers and frigates floated down from the command ship and directly stopped the spaceship. Not long after, a large number of fully armed soldiers poured into the cabin. This was a routine inspection. The leading officer and his adjutant looked dignified and had an extraordinary bearing. As soon as they came in, they called Liao Zhang, the Grand Marshal, and Xiao Si to the front. "Sir, hello. Welcome to the patrol. Come and have a smoke first." Liao Zhang had a fawning look on his face. At the same time, he presented the Dead Mother brand cigarette box. "Sorry, I don't smoke." The leading officer did not buy it at all. The adjutant also looked indifferent. It was clear that this was official business. Liao Zhang suddenly felt awkward. "Please show me your pass," the officer said expressionlessly. Liao Zhang had no choice but to turn on his wristwatch. The adjutant immediately stepped forward and turned on his wristwatch to scan it. Not long after, the adjutant said coldly, "Sorry, your pass expired a year ago. I'm now officially informing you that you must return. You are not allowed to enter the border." Four Eyes and the others were dumbfounded. They had wasted tens of thousands of star coins. Liao Zhang immediately begged for mercy with a sad face. However, no matter how he acted, the officer did not appreciate it. Ding Meng stepped forward and took out an exquisite crystal card. "Sir, I have this. These people are following me to Blue Pole Star City. Can you make an exception and let us in?" The adjutant took the card and scanned it with his wristwatch. His expression immediately eased, and he was a little surprised. He turned to look at the officer. "It's not fake. It's real." The officer took the card and scanned it carefully. Then, he looked up in surprise. "You're an invited guest?" Ding Meng smiled. "Yes." The officer could not believe it. "This card is for a special invited guest." A special guest was a top-notch guest. There were only a few people in the Federation who received such treatment. Ding Meng smiled. "I used to work as a designer in Starbow and developed products with Mr. Cuddle. That's how I got this card." "I see." The officer nodded thoughtfully. Then, he waved his hand and turned around. "Okay, let's go back. There's no problem with this ship. You're allowed to enter." When the patrol team left the ship, a group of people gathered around, including Liao Zhang. He came to Ding Meng's side. "Brother, if you're so powerful, why didn't you say so earlier? You made me worried." Ding Meng would not tell them that the officer just now was Du Mo, and the adjutant was Long Feiyu. Their identities had changed in this life, and the card he took out was not an invited guest's invitation card. He had used his telekinesis to interfere with Du Mo and the others' minds, causing them to hallucinate. Of course, Four Eyes and the others did not know this. They all thanked him with envy. "Brother Ding, it's all thanks to you. Thank you so much. A designer from Starbow Group. TSK. Amazing. Yo, Brother Ding, you're so polite. You're smoking again. What brand is this? Is it drunk? 88 star coins per pack? Brother Ding, you're awesome. Four Eyes, you uncultured thing. What do you mean by drunk? That's Yellow Crane Tower. Ahaha, Yellow Crane Tower, Yellow Crane Tower. My eyes were misty just now. Light up the cigarette. The group of people laughed and joked. Only Little Four silently went forward to thank him. "Thank you, big brother Ding Meng." Ding Meng looked at him, his eyes full of gentleness. He knew that Little Four was the real interstellar refugee. If Du Mo and the others found out, he would be sent back to the refugee camp. "You're welcome, Little Four." Ding Meng's tone was full of emotion. He also said in his heart, "A long, long time ago you saved my life. Now I will not watch you suffer. This is for you, Little Four." Little Four was stunned. He realized that there was a sandalwood bracelet in his hand. He felt that this bracelet was very familiar, but he could not remember when he had seen it. This was also a divine light equipment. When Little Four awakened in the future, it would become a divine light bracelet to protect him for life. In a daze, Little Four looked up again and realized that Ding Meng had disappeared. He did not know where he had gone. Little Shanzi slowly came to Little Four's side. "Big brother, your bracelet is very beautiful." Seeing the innocent child, Little Four showed a gentle expression. "Little friend, you can see it too?" Little Shanzi nodded seriously. "There are a lot of such wood in the mountains of my hometown. They are all made into sandalwood bracelets. I heard that it can keep you safe." Little Four was a little surprised. "Is there such a thing?" Little Shanzi said, "Only your closest relatives would give you this gift." Little Four was a little confused. He looked up again to look for Ding Meng. "Really? Are they really my relatives?" Chapter 11:15. Blue Moon Planet, Blue Pole Star City. It was still like a bright gem embedded on the beautiful coast, blooming with the most romantic light of the city. At the peak of the mountain in the eastern suburbs, it had now become a luxurious private residence area. A super mansion was built on the peak of the mountain. Looking down from the sky, it was like a pearl among pearls, a star among stars. Only the most powerful big shots would live in such a place. A luxurious shuttle slowly landed on the vast tarmac. After the door opened, 3 handsome men in formal attire jumped out one after another. After the 3 landed, they all took a deep breath, as if the air here was much fresher than in the city. The tall man in the lead couldn't help but laugh. "Hua Zai, are you a country bumpkin entering the city? Haven't you smelled the fragrance of flowers before?" Usually, when Mu Hua heard this, she would have gone berserk, but this time, she retorted with a smile. "Lian, don't laugh at me. Aren't you the same? Do you really think I didn't see it just now? You were sniffing like a dog." Dongfang Lian didn't refute. He turned his head and said, "Yongbang, how do you feel?" Yongbang rolled his eyes and sighed. "Sigh, don't say any more. It's really not easy to be able to come here. Yeah. It's really too difficult." Mu Hua couldn't help but sigh. Now, the 3 brothers could be considered to have broken away from the circle of rich playboys. In recent years, they had established a company together. The company couldn't be considered a top first-rate financial group, but it was considered outstanding among second-rate group. As the 3 big bosses, they had to spend a lot of words and a lot of money to come to this place to attend the banquet. Moreover, they had to rely on layers of connections to come here. It was enough to show that the standard of this banquet was very high. Ordinary people weren't qualified to come, and they probably didn't even know the information about this banquet. Yongbang said again, "Lian, Hua Zai, I heard from my old man that the owner of this private residence has a big background. Do you guys have any information?" Mu Hua also rolled her eyes. "Yongbang, even uncle doesn't know. Don't talk about us." Dongfang Lian frowned slightly. "I've heard a little about it. This mansion was recently purchased by a super big shot. It might be for this banquet." A super big shot. Yongbang and Mu Hua's eyes widened. Anyone who could be called a super big shot was an existence that people could only imagine. Anyway, there was no such person in Blue Pole Star City. Most of the big shots in Blue Pole Star City could only be regarded as rich and powerful. However, if these rich people were brought to Saint Splendor Capital, they probably wouldn't even show up. Therefore, those who could be called a big shot were the elites at the top of the Federation. They were very likely to be influential figures in the political and business circles. The real super big shots were even above them. Dongfang Lian simply couldn't imagine what kind of existence that kind of person was. Let's go. It's not easy for us to come here. Let's talk inside, Mu Hua suggested. There was a reception area at the entrance of the villa area. Two beautiful women dressed as waiters stood there with a smile. There weren't many guests who came to this banquet, so when Mu Hua and the other two arrived, one of the waiters immediately stepped forward with a smile. Welcome. Dongfang Lian felt that this woman was very familiar, as if he had seen her often in advertisements. Mu Hua suddenly exclaimed, You are Su. Su Mengqing, Miss Su? Su Mengqing smiled generously and said, That's me. Welcome, you three. For a moment, the three people were stunned. What kind of high-end banquet was this? A movie star who was so popular in the entertainment circle that she could be said to be a heavenly queen could only stand at the entrance of this banquet as a greeter? What kind of banquet was this? The three people were still in shock when another woman came up to greet them. Welcome, I will lead the way for you in a while. Yongbang also lost his voice and said, You are Miss Qin? Qin Zhongyi also smiled in a friendly manner. That's me. Please come in. A heavenly queen singer was also a greeter? Where did the owner of this mansion come from? Dongfang Lian hurriedly went to open his wrist device. Who would have thought that Su Mengqing would say, Old President Dongfang, you don't need to get an invitation letter. We knew you were on the way here. Your identity is an invited guest, so you don't need to show an invitation letter. The three people were dumbfounded again. You know our identity and whereabouts. How much power do you have in Blue Pole Star City to do this? This made them even more curious about the banquet that was going to be held inside. Entering the hall of the villa, the banquet was not held here, but in the empty courtyard behind the hall. This was a vast green lawn, and a huge water stage had been set up on the lawn, just like a big stage that appeared out of thin air on the sea. Around the stage, there was a white sacred carpet, a fluttering rose rain, and all kinds of luxurious decorations, making the whole scene look like a dreamlike fairyland under the blue sky and white clouds. Seeing this situation, Mu Hua and the other two realized that this was not a banquet, but a wedding that was about to be held. However, there were not many people at the scene, which showed that the bride and groom were very low-key and did not want to be conspicuous. Qin Zhongyi walked into the venue with the three people. The venue was similar to a cinema, and the seats were undulating from low to high. The low seats were definitely in the front row, and the high seats were naturally in the back row. Mu Hua and the other two were arranged in the last row, which was the highest position, but the farthest from the stage. In other words, the three of them had the lowest status. However, the three of them had no complaints, because the people in front of them were too big. Even the governor of Blue Pole Star City was sitting in the middle. Sitting in the fourth row were the generals, celebrities, and business leaders of the Federation. Sitting in the third row were the current president of the Federation, Liu Xiaobing, and vice president Yan Nanfei. Mu Hua almost shouted out loud, she didn't expect so many big shots to gather here. Dongfang Lian asked cautiously, Miss Qin, whose wedding is this? Qin Zhongyi smiled and said, Today is the big day of Mr. Xianjie and Miss Ling Xingqi. Holy shit! Mu Hua and the other two were dumbfounded again. They couldn't be more stupid. Although they had never seen these two people before, these two names were really well known and resounding like thunder in their ears. Xianjie was known as the current chief data master of the Holy Grail Federation, the chief scientist, the #1 authoritative hacker, the top designer. He had a lot of titles. In short, he was the most powerful person in the field of applied science. He was the only one in the entire federal empire, and he was even a guest of the president. He was almost a national treasure. If Xing's fame was on the surface, then Ling Xingqi's fame was hidden behind the scenes. This goddess was the sister of Ling Xingxian, the president of the Federation's #1 financial group, Xinghong International Group. At the same time, she was also the only 6-star general appointed by the president. It was said that Ling Xingqi was a war god-level origin ability user, and she often guarded the safety of the Federation in outer space. These two people could indeed be called super big shot. How could ordinary people have the chance to see them? The union of these two people could be said to be a match made in heaven. It was no wonder that the president, vice president, generals, and so many other important people would personally come. However, Yong Bang still found a problem. Because even the great president Liu Xiaobing could only sit in the third row, then the backgrounds of the people in the first 2 rows were even more unimaginable. Qin Zhomi smiled and explained, "The people in the second row are the friends and family of the bride and groom." Yong Bang frowned. He only knew one person sitting in the second row, and that was the president of the Xinghong International Group, Transit String. As long as one was a citizen of the Federation, they would know this person. They often saw him on TV commercials, but he couldn't recognize anyone else. It was normal that he couldn't recognize them, because the people sitting in the second row were Yao Manru, Lin Aoshue, Su Lingyue, Lien Tingbai, Liang Yi, Mr. Langton, Dr. Shuyan, Xia Ziyuan, Lin Kajir. But there's no one in the first row? Mu Hua decisively discovered this problem. There was only one chair in the first row, and it was empty. This meant that this guest had not arrived yet. At the same time, it also meant that this guest's identity was the most distinguished person present. Qin Zhongyi smiled and shook his head. "I don't know who that guest is either. I only know that she is the bride's best friend in her life. She is today's witness." At this moment, the wedding had not really started, but the groomsmen and bridesmaids from both sides had already appeared to greet the guests. The scene was bustling with activity. Mu Hua and the other two's eyes were straight. The groomsmen lineup could be said to be very strong. They were all outstanding generals of the Federation's younger generation. Haodong, Jiang Hai, Du Peixing, Qi Donglai, Zheng Ming, Sleeman, Fang Zhenghao, Galaja. Perhaps these generals were not very attractive to Mu Hua and the other two, because the focus of the entire scene was on the beautiful bridesmaids. Dongfang Lian sighed. "God, this is probably the most expensive bridesmaids lineup in the world, right?" Yong Bang sighed. "Almost. This is a heavenly lineup." Mu Hua also nodded. No matter how high his standards were, he had to admit that this was a heavenly lineup of top-notch beauties. Nanshuan, the second vice president of the Holy Grail Federation. She was known as the first goddess of the Federation. Lan Bing, the boss of the Federation's second-largest financial group, the Bingyi Group. It was said that her assets exceeded 10,000 trillion. Dai Yi, the boss of the Federation's third-largest financial group, the Man-Ro Technology Group. It was said that the starships of the Federal Empire were manufactured by her family. Izendel, the spokesperson of the Federation's first sect, the Rainbow Family. She was known as the second goddess. It was said that her martial arts strength was on par with Ling Xingqi. At the same time, she was also an outstanding interstellar explorer. Lu Qing, the vice president of the God Wars Star Region's Water Cherry Society. It was said that she could communicate with alien life forms telepathically. She was also the guest of the Federal Empire's president. These bridesmaids were not only top-notch goddesses, but their wealth and strength could also be said to be invincible. Dongfang Lian sighed. "If I could invite so many people to my wedding, it would be worth it." Yong Bang laughed. "Stop dreaming. It's all thanks to our ancestors that we can attend this wedding." Mu Hua, however, stared at the empty chair. "Guest number 1 hasn't arrived yet. That's the witness for the wedding." At this moment, the sacred wedding march started playing. The two main characters slowly walked up the stage from both sides of the stage. Exhilarating was dressed in formal attire. He looked as handsome as before with a warm and sunny smile on his face. Ling Xingqi, on the other hand, was wearing a sacred white wedding dress. She smiled as she walked to the center with the bridesmaids around her. The wedding was actually not much different from a normal wedding. It was nothing more than the master of ceremonies announcing the end of the ceremony, the priest praying, and the couple thanking the audience. The whole process was carried out in a romantic and warm atmosphere. However, just as it was about to end, the backyard door opened again. An unfamiliar figure appeared in the venue. Everyone turned their heads in confusion. The person in front of them was indeed a stranger. He was not tall, and his clothes were very ordinary. At least, he was not wearing a wedding dress. He was clearly an ordinary citizen, and he had suddenly barged in. However, no one made a sound or shouted for the guests to stop because the guests had been strictly selected. They could not fly up to Dong Mountain without an invitation. However, since they were able to come, it meant that they had the ability. Of course, the main reason was that all the experts in the Federation were gathered here today. No one dared to cause trouble here, so everyone watched quietly. Ling Xingqi was also a little confused. Although she did not know the person at the door, she felt that he looked familiar. She was about to speak when suddenly, there was a sudden fluctuation in her brain. The mental link between the two was automatically established. The transit string was instantly shocked. The person who came was a super strong interstellar martial artist. His level was much higher than hers, and he could even establish a one-way link. His voice was transmitted through telepathy. Xingqi, congratulations on your wedding. Ling Xingqi could only respond. Friend, do we know each other? The other party smiled. My name is Ding Meng. In your previous life, we were partners in martial arts. We were also friends who went through life and death together. Previous life? Ling Xingqi was even more confused. Is there really such a thing as past and present life? Ding Meng smiled and said, Yes, there is. Now, only you are an interstellar martial artist, so you can receive my telepathy. The others cannot establish a link at all. Ling Xingqi still could not believe it. Ding Meng smiled and said, Xingqi, this is for you. This is my wedding gift to you. You will definitely like it. Open it and you will understand everything. In the venue, a long box with a blue luster slowly flew up. It slowly floated to the center of the stage and hovered in front of Ling Xingqi. Ling Xingqi sensed it and found that the material of this box was actually made of unknown treasures. One could imagine the rarity of this gift. She gently opened the box. A dizzying blue light immediately filled the venue. This was the light of a Star Destroyer weapon. Lying quietly in the box was the majestic divine light saber. Seeing this saber, Ling Xingqi's eyes immediately lit up. At the same time, she also felt a long-lost warmth, as if she had seen a familiar partner. She gently reached out and touched the smooth body of the saber. The moment she touched it, a large amount of telepathy information flowed into her mind. She immediately saw everything that had happened in her previous life. How she and Ding Meng turned from enemies to friends. How she fought side by side with Ding Meng. For the final battle, she and Ji Qinxue both took the initiative to sacrifice themselves for Ding Meng. Ding Meng did not let their sacrifice down. He broke into the holy palace, stepped onto the holy staircase, killed strong enemies with his saber, shattered the galaxy with his palm, killed General Mo Yen to avenge his little sister, killed Ling Tong, kicked away the stumbling block, killed 3 demon generals, froze General Hong Yu, schemed against demon monarch Xie Yu, and finally faced Queen Ming Yen. Even though he knew he would die, he still gave it his all. She had seen all of these scenes. She also knew everything that had happened in her previous life. Ling Xingqi suddenly closed her eyes, but hot tears still flowed down her cheeks. Ding Meng had really exchanged time for the cycle of reincarnation, for the happy time they had now. However, behind this, she had paid an unimaginably high price for it. Even though she knew everything now, it was limited to what she knew. In this situation, she could not reunite with Ding Meng. Seeing Ling Xingqi cry, Xianjie immediately held her hand. Xingqi, what's wrong? Ling Xingqi opened her eyes and looked up. Hubby, you don't remember anything? Xianjie was confused. Remember what? Ling Xingqi said emotionally, you once had a very great friend in your life. You two went through life and death together, fought side by side, and had a brotherly relationship. He once said that one day, he would definitely come back to see you and witness your happiest moment. Xianjie thought for a moment. His expression was very blank. I only have a few friends. They're all from the research institute. Don't you know them all? Ling Xingqi cried again. So you guys really don't remember anything? Xianjie was confused. Xingqi, what's wrong with you? Today is a great day. Don't cry, okay? There are so many guests here. Ling Xingqi wiped away her tears and looked down the stage again. Everyone's smiling faces were right in front of her. So there was a reason why she knew these people in this life. It was because they were all good friends in her previous life. They gathered together for the sake of this world's future, and fought side by side for a better tomorrow. Everyone had given their all. In her previous life, Ding Meng was the only one left. However, Ding Meng paid a high price to travel back in time so that everyone could reunite in this life. However, Ding Meng could no longer participate in all of this. Ling Xingqi raised her head again to look at the other side. All that was left of Ding Meng was the back of her departing figure. The telepathic voice rang out again. Xingqi, brother Jie, congratulations on your marriage. My friends, I may not appear in your stories in the future, but I have never left your world. Hearing this, a smile slowly bloomed on Ling Xingqi's face. Yes, everyone may not remember that there was a person like Ding Meng in their lives, but Ding Meng, you are still here. You will always be our friend. That is enough. Seeing his wife smile again, Xianjie also looked at that back. His gaze was thoughtful. Xingqi, I think I remember now. That back is quite familiar. Ling Xingqi hurriedly asked, what did you remember? Xianjie thought for a moment and said, I think I encountered a plane crash when I was young. At that time, I did meet a good friend. He is very powerful. I just can't remember his name. However, I have a feeling that he can save this world. Perhaps I will meet him again in the future. Ling Xingqi's smile bloomed completely. She didn't say anything more because everything was enough. It was enough to comfort Ding Meng. As soon as Ding Meng left, the door was pushed open again. Junling, who was wearing a red dress, ran in a panic. It's over, it's over. I'm late. The wedding isn't over yet, right? Seeing Junling's flustered appearance, Ling Xingqi couldn't help but walk down the stage and run towards her. Little sister, you're finally here. Junling couldn't help but show an apologetic expression. Sorry, Sister Xingqi. I'm late as the wedding witness. Ling Xingqi took her hand and walked towards the stage. I'll show you something good later. I guarantee you'll like it. Junling was a little hesitant. What good thing? Ling Xingqi smiled. A treasured saber. A friend of yours gave it to you. Junling's eyes immediately lit up. She couldn't bear to hear the words, treasured saber. My friend? Where is he now? Ling Xingqi said, he just left. It hasn't even been a minute. I'll go after him right now. Junling turned and ran. Chapter 11:16. The flourishing kingdom, colorful clouds. The warm sunlight gently sprinkled down, and the spring breeze was as gentle as a veil, making people feel very happy. Under the sunlight, the star-weave grass continued to rise and fall, and the colorful colors embellished this beautiful homeland. Ding Meng walked on the soft country road, and the fragrance of the star-weave grass intoxicated him, because this was his homeland. The sacred butterfly fluttered beside him, and he had already entered the last interstellar space-time gate, returning to the flourishing kingdom that he had left for a long time. If we calculate according to your time limit, you only have 100 years left as the master of the temple. Don't you think it's too short? The sacred butterfly reminded him. Ding Meng said, I don't think it's short at all. The sacred butterfly leisurely said, the previous master of the temple has existed for at least 100 million years, but you have chosen a short few decades. Ding Meng's gaze fell on a valley filled with rubble, and his gaze seemed to be in a trance. Many years ago, in that valley, there was a girl who ended her life. She was only 13 years old that year, and her life was so short, but I, as the master of the temple, will remember it for the rest of my life. The little girl and the protector had escorted a group of children in a world of ice and snow. Their existence was insignificant, and no one knew of their story, but their spirit would last forever. The sacred butterfly fluttered around Ding Meng, and then it laughed. The meaning of life lies in whether or not it has once shined, and not in how long you can live. Ding Meng smiled. It's good that you understand. All right, I won't disturb you any longer. I'll return to the temple first, and you can take your time. This journey is quite long, and it might take some time to walk there. After it finished speaking, it flapped its wings a few times, and its figure immediately disappeared. Ding Meng walked slowly along the mountain road. The afternoon sun was strong, making people feel a little stuffy. Coincidentally, there were a few households in front of him, one of which was a small restaurant. The small restaurant was filled with the aroma of vegetables fried in lard, the stench of sweat from the lawnmower, and an indescribable odor of bad wine, chili, scallion, and garlic. Anyone who smelled this in the afternoon would have fainted, but Ding Meng liked this smell, because it was the real smoke and fire of the human world. Perhaps he liked this small restaurant more. This was because he could already see many farmers in shabby clothes and with sickles at their waists happily entering the restaurant. They had worked hard all morning to harvest starweave grass, and now it was time for them to eat. This small restaurant was practically tailor-made for them. Ding Meng was suddenly very curious about the owner of this restaurant. He must be a boss who worried about the livelihood of these farmers. The restaurant was not big and had 2 floors in total. The first floor was the main hall, and outside the hall were a few shacks for people to eat. As soon as Ding Meng entered, a dark-skinned farmer girl immediately came up to him. Brother, you look unfamiliar. Please come in. The peasant girl's clothes were clearly very shabby, but she had washed them very clean. She smiled very generously, and her entire person seemed very simple and warm. However, Ding Meng's eyes immediately became moist. This girl who worked as a waiter in the small restaurant was his eldest sister, Ding Wenhe. Ding Wenhe obviously did not know Ding Meng, but she was very friendly. Brother, you must have come from somewhere far away. Have you been rushing all morning? Look at how tired you are. Your face is all messed up. Sit down and have some tea. How about white meat fried rice with oil? It's cheap and delicious? She obviously thought Ding Meng was a poor young man who had come from afar. Ding Meng could only choke and nod. Okay. Ding Wenhe immediately turned her head and shouted, Sister Qiao, 1 white meat fried rice with lots of meat and rice. A crisp voice came from the kitchen. Okay. After greeting Ding Meng, Ding Wenhe quickly went to work. Because there were constantly farmers coming in to buy food, it could be seen that Ding Wenhe was still very diligent and serious. She was the type of person who could endure hardship. Hot fried rice was quickly served. It was just a small bowl, and it was enough for the laborers to fill their stomachs. Ding Meng picked up the spoon and chewed. The taste of this fried rice was the sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy taste of the journey. It might not taste good, but it was enough to last a lifetime. Halfway through the meal, a muffled voice came from the door. Wenhe, I'm here. Hurry, I'm hungry. First, give me a pot of wine, then a plate of steamed buns. The person who came in was a bearded officer with a worn-out padao hanging from his waist. His casual manner made people feel very friendly. Ding Wenhe immediately went forward and extended her hand with a smile. "Sir, you're here. Come in, come in." Ding Meng was stunned. This person was none other than the citizen protector from back then. He hadn't expected to meet him here. When the citizen protector entered, even the shopkeeper in the back hall was startled. The old man jogged all the way to the door to welcome him. "Sir, I haven't seen you for a few days. Did you go to patrol the border?" Ding Meng was stunned again. The old shopkeeper was the one who had sacrificed himself to protect him and brother Jing Ming when they left. Uncle Nyo chuckled. He no longer looked as decadent as before. He looked like a bookkeeper who was good at accounting. The citizen protector laughed heartily. He went into the city. He has official business to do. This time, the higher-ups are sending a new inspector to Kaiyandu. This news immediately made the small restaurant lively. Everyone was excited. Kaiyandu was too poor. Only the citizen protector was willing to stay here. Why would other public officials come to such a remote place? Now that there was a new inspector, this was great news. At least there was more assurance for their safety. Ding Wenhe was also very happy. "Sir, where is the new inspector? Why don't I see him?" The citizen protector chuckled. "Don't worry, little girl. He's already on his way. He'll be here in at most 15 minutes. When he said that, everyone stared at the village road outside. Soon, a fast horse came galloping towards them. The rider on the horse was highly skilled. The horse didn't even stop. He directly leaped into the air, somersaulted in the air, and landed steadily at the gate. Then, he put away his horsewhip and cupped his hands as he entered the gate. "Dear villagers, I just started work today. Please take care of me in the future." Everyone was stunned. This was a young lady with delicate features. If it was not for her eye-catching military uniform, who would believe that she was the new inspector? Seeing everyone's stunned expressions, the young lady cupped her hands again. "Everyone, did you encounter any trouble?" No. What trouble could there be?" "Sir, you're new here. If you don't mind, we'll treat you to a meal. What do you think?" Yes. We're scared of being poor. Is it our fortune that Sir can come?" "That's right. Sir came all the way here covered in dust. She must have worked hard. We should treat her to a meal. We'll provide enough food and wine. Wenhe, go get the wine. Put it on my bill." Hearing these burly men calling him an old man, the young inspector didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He cupped his hands and thanked them once again. "Thank you for your kind words, uncles. You don't have to call me Lord, I'm just a small inspector. I'm here to escort everyone. My name is Jiang Li, Jiang as in ginger, Li as in parting. Uncles, you can call me Little Jiang or Ali." Seeing her serious look, Ding Meng's spoon fell onto the wooden table. This time, he was not surprised, nor was he sighing. Instead, it was an indescribable warmth that flowed through his body and even warmed his soul. This new Inspector Jiang Li was the little girl who had risked her life to fight for him. She had now grown up. And these uncles beside her, were they not the group of young children that the little girl's citizen protector had risked her life to protect? They had also grown up. It turned out that fate really existed. In his previous life they had all died. They had been killed, hacked to death, starved to death, frozen to death. But in this life, in this sunny spring, they had reunited. They were living well. Perhaps it was a little tough, but at least they were alive. The feelings of the little girl's citizen protector had turned into reality in this life. Jiang Li as in parting. Wasn't parting so that they could reunite today? Today there was no more cold, no more hunger, and no more sickness. The little girl and the citizen protector had returned to everyone's side, continuing to protect everyone. Some predestinies would never disappear, just like some beliefs would always exist. The light of the righteous path would always shine. Ding Meng lowered his head. His eyes were already brimming with tears. The curtains at the back of the hall were pulled open. Ding Wenhe carried out a large wine jar and placed it on the table in the middle. The citizen protector was puzzled. Wenhe, what are you doing? Who can finish such a large jar of wine? Ding Wenhe smiled happily. This wine is a gift from the boss. Today, the inspector is willing to come to our rainbow cloud plating. The boss said that he would treat everyone to wine. Wow, that's great. The small restaurant immediately erupted into a round of enthusiastic cheers. The citizen protector stretched his neck and shouted towards the inner hall, Old Zheng, what's the point of hiding? Since you're willing to treat us, why don't you come out and drink with us? The curtains at the kitchen were also pulled open. A young couple walked out with a smile. They were not old, about 30 years old. The man looked simple and honest. He was wearing the master's cotton clothes. Obviously, he was the owner of the restaurant. The woman was also dressed like a farmer, but she looked sweet. She was a rare beauty in rainbow cloud plating. Ding Meng suddenly stood up. He almost shouted. Wasn't this brother Zheng Ming and Aunt Xiao? Now that they were husband and wife, they managed this small restaurant together. Drink more, drink more. Zheng Ming greeted them in a friendly manner. Aunt Xiao also spoke. She was no longer the deaf and mute girl. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. The boss said that today's lunch will only be charged half the price. We welcome the inspector to Rainbow Cloud Plating. From now on, Inspector Jiang will be our family. Good. Everyone applauded. Thank you, Boss Zheng. Thank you, sister-in-law. Looking at this harmonious scene, Ding Meng just silently ate his fried rice. He did not join them in eating and drinking, but he felt exceptionally warm. Perhaps his wish from many years ago was to see this scene today. Wasn't it a dream to live in thousands of houses and live a happy life? Now, this wish had finally come true. This lunch was very lively, but when it was about to end, there was the sound of wheels rolling outside. Someone had come in. The person who came in was still a young woman. This was a well-dressed woman, about 20 years old. But judging from her bright and sparkling clothes and accessories, she was definitely not from a poor family. She was born in a rich family and was also not from this place. Even though she was very young, she was already a beauty. Her appearance was sweet, even prettier than Aunt Xiao. Moreover, there was a short blade embedded with all types of precious pearls at her waist. Ding Meng silently stared at her. This was Ji Qinshue's appearance when she was young. Her appearance was exactly the same, but her temperament had already undergone a fundamental change. She was no longer that high and mighty goddess, but rather a swift and decisive blade wielder. This was because Ding Meng could tell with a single glance that Ji Qinshu was actually a high-level origin energy warrior. To be able to reach this level of cultivation at this age in the Great Wei dynasty, her talent could be said to be outstanding. Ji Qinshu entered and cupped her hands in an extremely polite manner. Boss, shopkeeper, there are injured people outside. Can you provide some fresh water and meat? I will definitely reward you handsomely. Uncle Nyo saw her extraordinary bearing and hurriedly replied, Miss is too polite. How about we take a look at the injured first? Ji Qinshu reached out her hand and said, Please. There was a cart parked on the village road outside the door. A middle-aged couple was lying on the cart. They were on the verge of death. There was another person beside them, but the person was covered from head to toe by a white cloth. It was clearly a corpse. This time, the citizen official and the little girl could no longer sit still. They both stepped forward and asked, What happened? A trace of anger appeared between Ji Qinshue's brows. I was originally traveling over from Maple Forest Bridge. Along the way, I passed by a farmer's household. Who would have thought that these two elders would jump into the river to commit suicide? As someone who learned the blade, I naturally wouldn't just stand by and watch them die. Thus, I entered the river to save them. Zheng Ming, the citizen official, and the little girl cupped their hands in unison. Miss is righteous. Ji Chenxue cupped her hands in return. Who would have thought that after asking around, I would find out that there was an evil person who violently assaulted the elder's daughter and injured the two elders. Their children were humiliated to death, and the elder couldn't take it anymore and jumped into the river to commit suicide. The citizen official was furious. Scoundrel, such a barbaric act is a capital offense in my Great Wei dynasty. Aunt Xiao turned her head and said, Uncle Nyo, I'll have to trouble you to prepare some good food to feed the two elders. Uncle Nyo immediately turned around and returned to the kitchen. The little girl asked, Miss, do you know who the violator is? Ji Chenxue said, This person is the head of the guards of the great general's manor at the border. His name is Zhang Liang. When they heard the words great general's manor, the originally indignant crowd immediately calmed down. This was not an existence that low-level farmers like them could provoke. However, the citizen official and the little girl still had resolute expressions. Then we naturally have to go to the great general's manor to demand an explanation and uphold justice for the elders. Ji Chenxue said with a resolute expression, That is precisely the case. Even if a prince breaks the law, he still has to be punished the same as a commoner. I am currently escorting the two elders to the great general's manor, the citizen official said. That is how it should be. Miss, if you don't find it troublesome, how about Inspector Jiang Li and I accompany you? Ji Chenxue waved his hand and said, No, the two of you are officials. It is inconvenient for you to go to the great general's manor. It is best for me to go to avoid implicating others. Ding Meng looked at this scene in front of him, his heart throbbing. How similar was this scene to when Big Brother Zhengming brought Aunt Xiao to the great courtyard of the imperial family? Could it be that history was going to repeat itself? Ding Meng slowly walked out of the crowd. Miss, I am a commoner and have no relatives or friends. How about I travel with you? I am willing to contribute. Ji Chenxue turned his head to look. He discovered that Ding Meng's aura was actually far stronger than his own. Friend, are you a war-revered warrior? Ding Meng nodded and said, That is correct. Ji Chenxue said, Are you not afraid that the great general will protect you? You have to know that the great general's manor is full of experts. There are too many variables on this trip. I fear that you will not be able to return. Ding Meng stared at him. Miss, as a warrior, is duty-bound to go without hesitation. As a war-revered warrior, could it be that I am not as good as a warrior? Ji Chenxue finally revealed a bright smile. You really are a good man. Then let's go together. Ding Meng smiled. In this life, Ji Chenxue had completely become a heroine. In the future, she might be a hero of the Great Wei dynasty. Right, friend, what is your name? Ji Chenxue asked again. Ding Meng said, My name is Ding Meng. Miss, what about you? Ji Chenxue cupped his hands. My surname is Chen and my given name is Shui. Chen as in smoke and dust, Shui as in flying snow. I am from Bailey Xiang in the south. The sunlight gradually turned fiery red because the sun was gradually setting in the west. When the last ray of sunlight fell, night had descended. The boundless darkness enveloped the great general's manor on the outskirts of the main city on the border. This was different from Ding Meng's memories. This great general's manor did not have a situation where it was heavily guarded. There was no defense at all. Even the great scholars and commoners could freely enter and leave. On the waterside pavilion of the great courtyard, 2 men and 2 women were currently discussing martial arts. As for how Ji Chenxue went up to greet him, Ding Meng had no idea at all. This was because his attention was completely focused on these 4 people. Those familiar faces and smiles appeared in front of his eyes again, and those heroic stories that could make one's soul throb. The great general in front of him was Big Brother Howren. Behind Big Brother stood the princess, and the one who was holding Big Brother's arm was the world's #1 saber, Yu Xingyang. Beside Yu Xingyang was Madame Yu, Long Yao. Ding Meng finally saw them again. They had not changed. They were still upright, serious, and cold. Especially Yu Xingyang. His arrogant temperament could not be concealed. He stood in the pavilion, looking like a sharp blade that could be unsheathed at any time. Ding Meng was still in a daze when the handcart was pushed to the center of the courtyard. Ji Chenxue helped the two elders down. Big Brother and Mr. Yu were already in front of him. This is what happened. Ji Chenxue had finished explaining. Big Brother's face darkened. He said sternly, "Someone, summon Zhang Liang." The guards quickly brought a wretched-looking, skinny man into the courtyard. The white cloth on the corpse was lifted. The girl's face was black and she was not breathing. Her body emitted a foul smell. She had obviously been dead for many days. When Zhang Liang saw the corpse, his face immediately changed. He hurriedly explained, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me. General, please believe me. I really didn't do it." No one answered him. Everyone was looking at Big Brother, waiting for him to make the final decision. The atmosphere was so tense that it was about to explode. After an unknown amount of time, Big Brother turned his head and looked at Zhang Liang. "How long have you been with me?" Zhang Liang hurriedly replied, "I have been with the general for 56 years. 56 years. Big Brother looked a little absent-minded, as if he was recalling the past. "Time flies. When I first joined the army, you seem to have been in the same tent as me." "Yes, yes, yes." Zhang Liang knew that the general was nostalgic. He hurriedly explained, "That year, the general was in danger at the border. I led 30 brothers from the vanguard to rescue you. On the way, Big Brother waved his hand to stop him from continuing. However, Ji Chenxue's heart trembled. This matter was probably not as easy to deal with as she had imagined. Big Brother turned around and looked at his wife. "Guard Zhang, what do you think about this matter?" The princess smiled and stepped forward. "Husband, do you remember why the king appointed you as the protector of the kingdom?" Big Brother said, "Naturally, I have never forgotten. We are fighting on the front lines. Our goal is to protect the people of our Dexing kingdom. The mission of us origin ability users is to fight for those who cannot fight. I, Howren, have never forgotten the king's instructions." The princess said again, "Are the two elders citizens of the kingdom?" Big Brother said, "Yes." The princess said, "Are the children of the old man who were killed citizens of the kingdom?" Big Brother said, "Yes." The princess said, "What about Guard Zhang?" Big Brother pondered and said, "Yes and no." The princess said, "What do you mean?" Big Brother said, "Previously, Zhang Liang was, but after he killed the civilians, he was no longer a criminal. According to the laws of the Dexing kingdom, this crime is punishable by execution. Even if he is a guard of the general, he must be executed. Otherwise, he will disgrace the king's great trust." Ji Chenxue's eyes lit up. Ding Meng also looked at his big brother with a gaze of reverence. General Howren and General Tianqing were two different generals. Big Brother was the one with the true demeanor of a general. He was invincible and benevolent. The princess said in a deep voice, "Men, arrest the criminal Zhang Liang. Immediately execute him. Right now, right here. Execute him. Sacrifice the dead. Kneel to the heavens and earth. Worship the gods." Zhang Liang's entire body was trembling with nervousness. At this moment, when he heard the general and the princess' verdict, he did not even think about it. He turned around and madly ran toward the gate. Ji Chenxue's gaze turned cold. "Still want to run?" Her figure suddenly leapt into the air. She turned around in midair, drew her blade and slashed diagonally. A snow-white blade light lit up the night sky. However, although her posture was beautiful, the guard was not a warrior, but a combat master. As she ran, she took out a dagger and lightly flicked the blade. The dagger was sent flying. Ji Chenxue was forced back on the spot. Ding Meng immediately leapt into the air and caught her in midair. Zhang Liang's momentum did not decrease. Instead, he increased his speed as he rushed out of the manor's gate. Right at this moment, the air outside the door suddenly began to flow rapidly, and a transparent air current appeared in the air above. The air current vaguely took the shape of a saber, and this saber was not something that a combat master could withstand. Zhang Liang once again raised the dagger. With a cracking sound, the dagger broke into two pieces. The blade turned horizontally. With a chi sound, blood spurted into the air like a fountain. Zhang Liang's head had already fallen to the ground. This blade was truly without the slightest error. It was fast and accurate. Looking at Yu Xingyang again, he was still cold and arrogant. With just a few movements of his fingers, the long blade formed by the stream of air disappeared. This level of blade mastery was already at the level of a combat saint. At this moment, the two elders knelt in front of their elder brother to express their gratitude for upholding justice. The princess went forward to help them up. Come, help these two elders settle down. Send them back to Maple Forest Bridge tomorrow, and give them a grand funeral. Give them enough money to settle down. The general's residence will be closed for 10 days. Everyone in the residence will wear white clothes to mourn the deceased. Also, they will reflect on their mistakes behind closed doors. The general and I are no exception. Those who violate the rules will be punished severely. The elder brother said, "Drag the criminal's corpse away and deal with it appropriately." The guards immediately went forward and dragged the corpse away in a flurry. After dealing with everything in front of him, the elder brother turned around and cupped his hands towards Yu Xingyang. His face revealed an ashamed expression. "Brother Yu came from far away to be a guest, yet I let brother Yu see a joke." Yu Xingyang's expression was solemn. He also cupped his hands. "How can Brother Hao's words and actions be a joke? I am deeply moved and thankful that I did not make the wrong friend. For the great Qing kingdom to have a general like Brother Hao, it is the king's fortune and the people's fortune. I am far inferior." Hao Ran smiled modestly. "Brother Yu is too kind. Brother Yu's attack just now made me ashamed. After not seeing Brother Yu for so many years, your blade mastery has improved." Hao Ran admits defeat. The two of them were good friends and confidants. They recognized heroes and valued heroes. They appreciated each other. Many heroic feelings were expressed in this smile. At this moment, Ji Chenxue also walked forward and cupped his hands. "Thank you, great general, for disregarding personal feelings and upholding justice for the poor peasants. In the end, justice exists forever in this world." Chen Shui thanks the great general on behalf of the two elders. The elder brother looked at her and his expression became gentle. "Little girl is young, yet you have a pure heart. You draw your blade to help when you see injustice on the road. In the future, you will definitely be a pillar of our great Qing kingdom. What is even rarer is that your skills are so magnificent. With such outstanding talent, why not learn from a famous teacher?" Ji Chenxue hesitated. "Famous teacher?" The elder brother smiled. "This Mr. Yu in front of you is an expert in the blade of the demon kingdom. People call him the Formless Blade. The blade that killed Zhang Liang just now was the formless blade of justice. Little girl, what do you think of that blade?" Ji Chenxue's eyes brightened. "So it is Mr. Yu Xingyang. You are indeed the world's #1 blade master." Yu Xingyang finally revealed a smile. "The world's #1 blade master is not worthy of the title. If little girl is interested in blade mastery, I can teach you a thing or two." Long Yao also walked forward and smiled. "Little girl, are you willing to learn my blade mastery?" Ji Chenxue was overjoyed. "So it is the elder of the celestial heaven's gate. Chen Shui greets the elder." Yu Xingyang turned to look at Ding Meng and said meaningfully, "Little brother, you just ascended to meet someone. Your foundation is not shallow. Your attainment is even higher than little girl. Are you interested in traveling with me?" Ding Meng smiled and said, "Where does Mr. Yu want to go?" Yu Xingyang smiled but did not answer. Instead, the elder brother beside him laughed. This year's martial arts symposium will be held in the Demon Kingdom. Brother, you will definitely not miss such a grand event. You will definitely want to learn from each other and discuss martial arts. He paused for a moment, then smiled and said, It's just that brother you doesn't care too much about these empty titles. What brother you really wants to do is to travel the famous mountains and beautiful sceneries, travel all over the world, and use a formless divine saber to kill all the villains in the world and wipe out all the bandits in the world to comfort this happy life. Brother you, am I right? Yu Xingyang nodded and smiled. Brother Hao, aren't you the same? Ding Meng smiled and clasped his hands, then. I will accept your invitation. At noon the next day, Ding Meng, Ji Chenxue, Yu Xingyang, and Long Yao returned to the Rainbow Cloud restaurant. The small restaurant was still bustling with noise and excitement. The villagers all gathered around. Everyone was naturally concerned about how the general dealt with the criminals. When Ji Chenxue finished her story, everyone cheered and jumped for joy. The general of our kingdom is really fair and impartial. He is not biased at all. He killed the criminals just like that. Yes, there is a reason why our Great Wei dynasty is the head of the 4 great countries. It is because we have a pillar of the country like General Howren. The 2 elders have finally been avenged. How can I be happy? Then why don't we drink 2 goo worms at noon? If you want a drink, you have to invite heroes like the inspector, Miss Chenxue, and Hero Yu to drink, right? That is a must. Only heroes like them are worthy of our treat. In the midst of the noise, Ding Wenhe came out again with a large jar of wine. Ding Meng smiled. Don't tell me Boss Jing is treating us again? Ding Wenhe smiled. Brother Ding, you guessed right. The boss heard about you and admires you very much. That is why he is treating us all to this meal. How can we accept this? Ding Meng said this, but he had already sat down in front of a large table in the center of the restaurant. The afternoon sun was still very bright, but the atmosphere in the small restaurant was even more lively. Ding Meng, Ji Chenxue, Yu Xingyang, Long Yao, the citizen officer, the little girl, Zheng Ming, and Xiao Gu sat in a circle in front of the table. There was good wine in front of everyone and everyone had a smile on their faces. Xiao Gu was the first to raise her wine cup. Miss Chenxue. Hero Yu, Brother Ding, thank you for getting rid of evil for the people. I wish you all victory in the Devil Nation Martial Arts Symposium. Jingming also raised his cup and said with a smile, I will wait here for you all to come back. When you all come back, I will treat you all to wine. The citizen officer held a large cup and laughed heartily. Remember us and come back often. Although this place is a bit remote, the people here are the warmest. The little girl seemed to be deep in thought. Our reunion in this life is fate from our previous lives. Look at this blue sky, it's always sunny. I believe that there will be a tomorrow, because tomorrow will definitely be a sunny day. This toast is for all of you. You are all good people. Yu Xingyang raised his wine cup and said softly, the heroes of the world come from our generation. Once we enter the Jianghu, time passes quickly. While talking and laughing, it is better than drinking in life. Long Yao also said, holding the sword, riding on the horse, waving the phantom rein. Bones are like mountains and birds are scared away. The world is like a tide and people are like water. Only a few people in the Jianghu return. Ji Chenxue raised his cup. Thank you all for letting this world have the glory of the righteous path. Ding Meng also raised his cup and said emotionally, thank you all for accompanying me on this journey. You are the most exciting and unforgettable memories in my life. Let our friendship stay in this space and time. Let us meet again in the next story. Friends, cheers. 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 End of text. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.